What's up guys, Chaos Shinobi here. This is a story where the Kyuubi gives Naruto a bloodline ability through altering his body. Kurama gives Naruto insanely powerful super strength and speed. Anyway, let's get started. Chapter 1. The stone came out of nowhere. To be fair, even if he had realized it was incoming, Naruto would have had maybe a 50/50 chance of dodging it. Normally it would have been higher, but the portion of his mind that would normally notice such things was otherwise engaged with obsessing over the fact that the universe seemed to be naturally unfair. He had been thrown out of the orphanage. Again. At the age of 5. Ironically, the stone that hit him had not been cast by one of the many ignorant villagers that hated him for reasons that he did not understand and had never been told. It simply fell from the top of the crumbling wall that he was curled up against, destabilized by the combination of aged mortar and the gentle yet variable breeze. Normally, it would have simply left a bruise. Had he been asleep, he would never have noticed since his healing would have fixed it by the morning, leaving maybe a bit of drying blood. If he had been awake, it would have led to some muttered cursing, a rubbing of the head and stomping off to find a less collapse-prone place to rest. But he had been at the border between wakefulness and sleep, at the exact point between the two where awareness exists, but the will to move is absent. And the impact sent him spiraling into his own mind. Ow, what hit me? Naruto sat up and looked around, his irritation slowly vanishing to be replaced with an odd mixture of curiosity and unease. And discomfort. Pulling himself to his feet, he looked round at the walls and ceiling of the tunnel that he had found himself in. Then he looked down and blinked. What the? Is that water? The thin layer of liquid flowed over the stone flagstones and, having no reason to do otherwise, Naruto followed the flow to see where it went. After a journey that could have been as little as 10 minutes or as long as 10 hours, Naruto turned a corner and halted at the sight before him. The tunnel was blocked by a set of massive gates, their hinges set deep into the walls. Where the gates met was a piece of paper marked only with the kanji for seal. But it was what was behind the gates that caught Naruto's attention, a giant, shifting, red-furred shape that was unfolding and standing up. 9 tails extended from one end and at the other, a head containing glowing red eyes and sharp teeth almost as long as Naruto was high-turned to look at him. Ah, so my new container has come to visit me. Naruto blinked and scratched his head. Container? Where am I? Who are you? The giant beast snorted. It is considered polite to introduce yourself before asking the name of another. Naruto nodded, remembering many of the conversations he had overheard since very few people wanted to speak to him for some reason. Thinking back to how someone had talked to his favorite person, the old man he called Jiji and others called Hokage, Naruto bowed to the odd being. My name is Uzumaki Naruto of Konohagakure. Might I know your name? A burst of laughter echoed through the tunnel. How polite. I think I'm going to like you. I am known to many as the Kitsune no Kyuubi. My true name I shall reveal to you if you prove yourself worthy. As for your other questions, we are inside your mind, shall we say. It is far more complicated than that, but for now that description will do. And as for what I meant by container, it is simple. When you were born, I was sealed inside you. Naruto frowned in thought as he worked his way through the explanation. I think I get it, but isn't it boring here? For a moment, the Kyuubi stared at him, then a sigh emerged. It is less unpleasant than being in my last container, but I was complete back then. Half my power was taken from me when I was ripped from her and a red-eyed man made me attack Konoha. At least this time, I have something to look at, although I would give much to see the world once more. Does that paper stop you getting out? Naruto asked and Kyuubi nodded. Naruto stared at it for a moment, then walked over and tried to reach it. What are you doing? Letting you out, Naruto said, stretching to reach the paper just tantalizingly beyond his reach. A second later, the tip of a tail slammed into him, sending him tumbling. Ow, what was that for? I was trying to free you. And in doing so, you would have died, as I probably would as well. Came the response. Plus, you never asked if I wanted to get out. Naruto stared at him, his bruises forgotten as he tried to understand. I don't understand. Why don't you want to get out? Because, the giant creature sighed. Out there is a man who can turn me into his mindless slave, and I cannot defend myself against him. By remaining here, even though it is boring, I am not a slave. I may not be free, but I am not a slave. That's not fair. Naruto pouted. No one should make you a slave. I'll find him and hurt him so bad. He won't do it again and you can go free. For several moments, the two stared at each other. I do believe you mean that. You will need to grow strong and study, that you may defeat him and free me without dying. But, if that is what you want to do, I will help you as best I can. Naruto grinned and picked himself off the wet floor. Walking back to the gate, he smiled at the giant being. Thank you. No, thank you. Now please let me consider things for a moment. I give you my word that I will not do anything to harm you if you will let me use my abilities to help you. I sense you are malnourished and lacking in physical capabilities, and have several seals placed upon you that should not be there. Will you accept my aid? Sure. As Naruto said it, the Kyuubi extended his tail through the bars and gently wrapped it around Naruto's waist, lifting him to the seal. First, you must change the seal so that I can aid you. Just tear off a small bit of each corner, no bigger than your fingernail. Yes, just like that. Excellent. Now look round. Naruto staggered slightly as the tail placed him back down, and he glanced round as sparkles of red shimmered across the walls. In several places, the sparkles seemed to stick and outline odd shapes. What are those? Those, Kit, are the seals that should not be there, placed by those who hated you for what you carry. Take this dagger and stab those seals. I will tell you what each one was for. Naruto blinked as the Kyuubi spat a tooth out. It skittered across the floor and came to rest against his foot. Picking it up, he grinned as it shifted slightly, becoming a pale silver dagger with an amber handle and a small red leather loop on the end. That is the Kitsune's Fong. Only you can use it, and when you wake up, it will be by your side so you know that this was not a dream. Only you can use it, no one else will be able to touch it. Now try it on that first seal to your right. That one was placed to slow your memory, making it harder to learn. One of the Yamanaka clan placed it there 3 years ago. Naruto plunged the tip of his new dagger into the invisible seal, and a second later it faded into view, already starting to disintegrate as if it were on fire. Excellent. Now the one on the wall behind you is set to kill you should you leave the village without permission. That one was placed by a shinobi wearing a blank mask. The last seal evaporated into a plume of smoke and Naruto grinned. Excellent, Kit. Excellent. Now I can work to help you as I promised. How does extra speed, strength, and health sound? I will make you the fastest and strongest shinobi in the village if you wish. That would be wonderful, Kyuubi-sama. Thank you. The Kyuubi chuckled at the display of childish gratitude. Very well, Kit. I shall make you 5 times as strong as you would be without my aid, and twice as fast. And since I like you so much, I shall boost your senses and set a link that we may speak to each other when you are awake. Does that sound good? It sounds awesome, Kyuubi-sama. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The Kyuubi grinned and started to send his power into the walls of the tunnels, illuminating the pipes that were running across the sides and ceiling. All right, first, your eyes and ears. A small tweak and you'll be able to see perfectly at night and hear things far away. Eyes first. Naruto listened to the Kyuubi muttering to itself as he looked round. Then he frowned at a slight glow in the water. Walking over to it, he looked down and saw another outline shape indicating a seal. That's interesting. There seems to be some resistance to the strength boost. Ignoring the odd comments, Naruto tensed and thrust the Fong into the invisible seal, grinning as it flashed into visibility. What the? The seal almost exploded, knocking Naruto backwards, and he landed with a thud against the rapidly drying floor. For a few moments, his ears rang and his eyes defocused. Then he sat up and felt the Kyuubi looking at him. There was one more seal. I kind of missed it before. The Kyuubi stared at him, then down at the scorch mark that showed where the seal had been. Oh dear, that's not good. Naruto opened his eyes and almost screamed as he found himself staring at a masked figure that was regarding him quizzically. After a few near-panic seconds, recognition dawned and he relaxed. Inu. The figure nodded and handed over a bowl of ramen. Naruto's mouth watered and with a heartfelt thanks, he grabbed the bowl. It exploded. Both Inu and Naruto froze as the ramen splattered them both, and the crushed remains of the bowl dropped to the ground. Naruto's eyes widened and he jumped to his feet. Or tried to. When he pushed against the ground, He found himself soaring into the air, arcing across the street and landing with a thud on the roof of the building opposite. What the? Kit, you remember when I was trying to boost your strength and you got rid of the seal? Well. The QB sounded embarrassed and Naruto frowned. What happened? Just think your questions. You don't want anyone overhearing. They wouldn't understand. What happened? The seal was resisting the strength boost and I kind of put too much power into it. When you broke the seal, the power rushed out before I could pull it back and it kind of made you far stronger than I intended. I managed to alter your skeleton, ligaments, skin, and other important things so you won't tear yourself apart using your strength, but sorry. Why are you sorry? Naruto gasped, grinning madly. That was awesome. How did you do that? Naruto looked round to see Inu crouched next to him. Oh, hi, Inu. Kit, don't tell him about what we did. Say you don't know what happened. How did you do that, Naruto? And why do you have some blood in your hair? Naruto shrugged. I don't know. I was trying to get to my feet. And the blood, no clue. Help. Inu took the proffered arm and carefully pulled as Naruto remained as still as possible. Once he was vertical, Naruto smiled. Thanks, Inu. Can you take me to see Gigi? I don't know if I dare to move at the moment. The silver-haired masked ninja nodded and picked Naruto up. Tucking him under his arm, he leapt off the roof towards the Hokage's tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, had seen many odd things in his life. He had fought against ninja with Kekkai Genkai that allowed them to reshape the battlefield, mow down hundreds of enemies in a single move or even predict the future. He had seen his pupils summon creatures larger than buildings and had witnessed the greatest jutsus of the age, the Rasengan and the Hiraishin. None of that had prepared him for the sight of his favorite orphan effortlessly knocking down a wall and looking embarrassed. Sorry, Gigi. I was just trying to lean against the wall. I wasn't sure I could sit down without destroying the chair. That's quite all right, Naruto. I was thinking of expanding the office, anyway, Hiruzen said calmly. I must say, though, that you've become very strong. Any idea how or why? Tell him that a man threw a stone at you last night, and when you woke up you were strong. The QB whispered. Let him think it's a new bloodline limit. In fact, it is. I tweaked it to make it 1 after you left. I got hit by a stone last night and woke up strong. Naruto grinned with a shrug. I don't know why, but it's pretty cool. Except for all the breaky stuff, that is. Inu and Hiruzen exchanged a long look. Then their attention returned to Naruto. What were you doing out last night? Anyway? Hiruzen asked gently. Ah. The orphanage threw me out. Naruto pouted, missing the sudden flare of anger in Hiruzen's eyes. The nasty lady in charge said I was a monster and shouldn't be around real kids. I see, Hiruzen said slowly, ignoring the crushed remains of his pipe in his hand. Normally, I'd try to find a better orphanage, but with your new strength, you're going to need help controlling it. Otherwise, you'll be unable to even feed yourself. I know, Naruto sighed, rubbing his stomach. I saw what happened when I grabbed the bowl of ramen. How do I learn control? That, I'm not sure about, Hiruzen admitted. But you'll need some specialized equipment at the very least. Your clothing, for instance, you need new things to wear. Can they be orange? The ripping noise echoed through the shop, followed a moment later by an embarrassed chuckle. Gigi. Sarutobi lowered his head into his cupped hands, then gave a pleading look to the shopkeeper. Do you have anything stronger? He sighed as the tailor gaped at Naruto and the shredded item of clothing now being dropped onto the pile of similar items. Like the other items, it hadn't been the seam that had split. That was leather. Double thick reinforced, he gasped. I don't have anything stronger than that here. No choice, Sarutobi said, standing up with a hidden wince. I guess that we're going to ANBU HQ to see what they have that'll stand up to you. Oh, send me the bill for those items. This is so cool. Naruto almost leapt out of the changing cubicle, only remembering at the last instant that such an action would probably launch him through the ceiling. Even normal walking tended to cause him to take unplanned arcs through the air, so he carefully shuffled out, placing each foot as lightly as he could. That does look good. Sarutobi nodded. Reinforced chainmail with leather backing makes a great choice of clothing fabrics for you. as long as you don't try to pull it on too fast. Naruto blushed slightly at the reminder, then turned to admire himself in the mirror. Due to the cost of the material, he was clad only in loose trousers and a sleeveless tunic made of chainmail, sandals made from metal with a thick leather lining, and a belt comprised of reinforced metal links with an oversized buckle that he could undo without inadvertently crushing it, as he had done with the previous 3 belts. Metal plates surmounted his shoulders with the Uzumaki spiral on the left one. "You look fine, Naruto," Sarutobi said, tapping Naruto's arm to break his fascination with his reflection. "Now come on. We need to find you somewhere to live, and get someone to watch over you." Naruto nodded and reached for the bag containing the other, almost identical outfits, then he paused just before touching it. "Gigi, is the bag strong enough?" "I don't see why it shouldn't be. Now come on." Naruto slowly placed the bag over his shoulder and edged to the door that the Hokage had gone through. Reaching out, he gave it a slight push. As the professor god of shinobi, Hiruzen's reflexes had only slightly dulled with age, so he was able to easily dodge the door that sliced through the air, embedding itself in the wall of the building opposite. "Oops, sorry." "It's okay, Naruto," he sighed without even bothering to look round. "Just remember to check to see which direction the door opens next time. That one opens inwards, or it did anyway." "Sorry." Naruto paused before sliding the door open as gently as he could. Sarutobi winced as the door slammed against the frame and shattered. Maybe a normal apartment isn't such a good idea. I know. Come with me." This bunker dates back to the founding of Konoha, but when Konoha expanded, it became surplus to requirements, but was too well built to knock down. "Well, what do you think?" Naruto stepped into the abandoned hillside bunker and looked around. Although well hidden from the outside, slit windows allowed enough light in that lamps would not be needed during the day. The entry hall led to a large room which had a spiral staircase leading both up and down. The stairs lead up to a half-dozen observation rooms and a quartet of windowless barracks. You might want to use one of the observation rooms as your bedroom. There's also a hatchway that leads to an open area at the top, originally intended as a training area, Sarutobi said. "There is a small washroom through there, but you should be very careful while using it, and there's 2 communal bathrooms upstairs. The kitchen and dining halls over there, it's designed to be used for 10 squads of ninja, so it'll be more than big enough for you. Down there are more storage rooms and a couple of large sparring chambers, as well as an archway into a natural cavern that has a lake in it, giving you plenty of water. There's also an armory, but it was emptied out several decades back. As you grow older, you may want to use it to store your weapons and scrolls." "This has to be the most awesome place ever," Naruto said with a grin, heading for the roof access. A gentle tap slammed it open and Naruto stepped through and whooped with excitement. "I have a garden. I can grow flowers and vegetables and fruits. Hey Gigi, is there such a thing as a ramen plant?" Not to my knowledge," Sarutobi said, joining his near-grandson in the yard. He glanced round, seeing the rich soil and the tree growing at the back, the petals on it promising a good crop of cherries. "I love it," Naruto laughed, bouncing round, then remembering about his tendency to achieve high-arc trajectories and standing still. "Is it really mine now?" Yes, it is." Sarutobi smiled at the obviously overjoyed young boy. "From today, this house is yours. Please try not to break it. Now, I'll get a mattress delivered for you, as well as some shelves. I'm not sure that anything with doors is a good idea yet, and tomorrow we'll have your new strength checked and see about training for you." "Great. I'm hungry. Can we have ramen?" Sarutobi paused. I'm not sure that the chopsticks would be able to stand up to your newfound strength, Naruto. Maybe some takeaway barbecue with dango to follow." "Ah man," Naruto moaned, looking depressed for the first time that day. "Strength sucks." "Bore, you have a report?" The Umbu who had just appeared bowed, but something about him seemed off. Had Sarutobi not known about the high levels of professionalism that Umbu held themselves to, he would have sworn that Bore was smirking under his mask. "Naruto is fast asleep. Tora is currently watching over him. On his way home from your meal with him, a group of civilians, 15 of them, tried to attack him. The results were amusing." Sarutobi blinked. Then he started to massage his forehead. "What happened?" Before we could move in, Naruto started to throw the civilians who were attacking him into the air. He was rather gentle about it, but we had our work cut out catching them as they came down. 2 blocks away. The rest of them ran after one of them hit him with a club, and it shattered. We don't think he even noticed it. Hiruzen slowly put his pipe down and continued to massage his head. How long before the council? Sarutobi, have you heard what that beast has done? Counselor Haruno howled as she burst through the doorway, followed by almost half a dozen other members of the civilian council. He went on a rampage and attacked 100 people without warning. It was a massacre. He needs to die. Sarutobi continued to massage his forehead. Why was it that over 90% of his problems revolved around one small child? You forgot to grab the dagger I made for you. For a moment, Naruto blinked without understanding. Then a specific memory reappeared and he swore underneath his breath. Ah, I forgot with Inu there. I'll go get it now. No need. Just hold out your right hand, picture the Fong in your mind, and say, come. Naruto stared blankly at the wall for a moment, then did as he was instructed. Come. As if out of nowhere, the Fong materialized in his hand and Naruto gasped. Wow, thanks Kyubi. You're really amazing. It's incredible and it looks really sharp. It is sharp, so sharp it can cut through anything. The blade is thinner than a piece of parchment, yet stronger than the strongest steel. And the reason for that is that it is not made of anything other than pure yukai. Yukai. It is a form of chakra unique to demons and biju. The Fong is comprised of the bits of yukai that get through the seal and it absorbs those bits to remain solid. As you grow, you will be able to use the Fong, you will be able to change its size and appearance, but that will not happen for many years. Now, place it on your right leg so the point of the blade is near your knee. That's good. The Fong will remain there until you choose to use it. And you need not worry about anyone else using it against you. For anyone else except those you give it to, it will be intangible. They will be unable to pick it up, to even touch it. Naruto admired the dagger in the fading light. Thanks, Kyubi. This is the best thing anyone has ever given me. You're welcome, Kit. Now get some sleep. I think tomorrow will be a busy day. Okay. Naruto yawned as he sat down on the futon. Reaching down, he grabbed the thick canvas blanket and pulled it up as he settled down. Good night, Kyubi-sama. Good night, Kit. The dawnlight lanced through the window, hitting Naruto's face. Muttering under his breath, he slowly slid out from underneath the canvas sheet and stretched before trudging to the bathroom. Moving to the line of showers, he reached out to one, then froze, his hand a bare inch away from the taps. Ah heck, how do I do this without breaking it? I would suggest carefully, and as lightly as possible. Don't grab, just place your finger and move it like you're drawing round the tap. Naruto followed the instructions and was rewarded with a spray of water. Reaching for the soap, he sighed as most of it promptly liquidized in his grip, some of it squirting out to decorate the shower walls. I guess I need to work on that, he sighed, ignoring the laughter echoing in the back of his mind. Oh well, a quick scrub and then breakfast. Yes, that would be a good idea. Your new body will need food. Naruto nodded and rubbed the remnants of the soap into his hair, then used the resulting lather to clean the rest of his body. After a few moments of scrubbing, he let the shower wash him clean, then with as much care as possible he shut off the flow. I don't think a towel will last. Try to focus your chakra. Make a ram seal with your hands like this. Yes, that's good, now focus on your chakra and push it into your skin. Naruto closed his eyes and a moment later he was dry. Nice work, Kit. Now why not get dressed and grab some food? Then we can head out and see if you can get some training in how to control your new strength. Naruto nodded as he walked over to the clothing. First, he tied on the special underpants, carefully knotting the ninja wire reinforced side strings. Then he slowly pulled on a pair of trousers and a new tunic. Donning the belt, he looked at himself in the mirror and, with a satisfied nod, moved to the kitchen where a bag of rolls was waiting for him. A very youthful morning to you, young one. Naruto's startled jolt launched him into the air and he grabbed onto the first thing he encountered. As reality reasserted itself, he found himself up a tree, with a somewhat perplexed, bushy-browed, green-clad ninja looking up at him almost 10 meters below. Help? I think I'm stuck. Of course. I do apologize, it was most unyouthful of me to surprise you like that. But that was a most amazing leap. Are you already training in the way of the shinobi? And if so, who is your instructor? He must be excellent to fan your flames of youth to such an extent. Naruto blinked a few times as he tried to decode what the obviously crazy man was saying. Then he shrugged. Can you get a ladder or… No, a ladder wouldn't work. I'd break it. Can you get me down? Please. Of course I will, or I will climb every tree in Konoha, the obviously completely insane ninja declaimed before he made a hand sign and strode forwards. Reaching the base of the tree, he didn't pause, but instead strode up the trunk of the tree, much to Naruto's shock. Reaching him, the ninja reached out and gently plucked him from the branch, then turned and walked back down to ground level, placing him back on the ground. I am the mighty green beast of Konoha, Mato Guy. Might I know your name? O one who blazes with the passion of youth. Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. What are you doing? Guy took a pose and Naruto blinked as the sunlight glinted from his teeth. I was merely performing my normal early morning exercises with a brisk run around Konoha. Can I come too? Yes, Guy? What is it? Hokage-sama, while on my early morning jog, I encountered a young lad who has potential like nothing I have ever seen before. He was able to keep up with me during my morning training. During my talk with him, I learned that he has a Kekkai Genkai that grants him incredible speed and strength which he struggles to control, and he has no family to aid him. Hiruzen blinked as he considered the energetic Jonin in front of him. Guy, would this youngster be one Uzumaki Naruto by any chance? Yash, that is indeed the name of the most youthful boy. You know of him, I assume? I do, Hiruzen said. His strength is quite destructive, so he lives in a bunker that should be strong enough to withstand him. What's your interest in him? Guy took a thinking pose and Hiruzen sighed at his dramatics. As you know, I have agreed to sponsor the son of a good friend of mine to the academy in 2 years, even though he lacks the ability to use chakra, but it will be a while before I can truly begin his training. This Naruto needs help if he is to control the conflagration of power inside him. With your permission, I would like to oversee his training before he enters the academy. Once I have helped him learn how to control his power, I think he would make a great sparring partner and friend to Lee. Hiruzen thought about it for a few moments. Have you seen where he lives? Yash, I have visited the family of my apprentice-to-be Rock Lee several times. Guy's declamation was met by a blank stare. Hokage-sama. I was talking about Naruto Guy. Ooh, then no, I have not seen the… Did you say bunker? Sarutobi nodded. Yes, the old bunker which was used by the 2nd Defense Unit prior to Konoha's expansion. You should know it, if memory serves, you were genin to one of the jonin who worked there. Guy's face lit with recognition. Yash, I do indeed remember that bastion of youthfulness, but to have a young boy live there alone. I have an idea, Hokage-sama. May I become young Naruto's guardian until he has control over his newfound conflagration of youthful energy. Another blank stare was sent his way as Hiruzen tried to work his way through the request. Every instinct I have is going into red alert. Apart from exercises, what can you offer him? Guy dropped his nice guy pose and turned serious. Hokage-sama, young Naruto is suffering from borderline malnutrition which is going to stunt his growth if left unchecked. I know how to cook. I learned since none of the restaurants could provide me with the food I needed for my training. I can also instruct Naruto in several styles of taijutsu that will teach him control and let him use his new strength to its fullest. All right, I know that there are several spare rooms there, so if Naruto agrees, you can move into the bunker temporarily to keep an eye on him. However, I will be assigning someone else as well, and you'll both be getting ongoing C-rank pay for this, along with a small stipend for supplies. Guy caught the small envelope and glanced inside it before standing to attention. I understand, Hokage-sama, and with your permission, I will go and purchase the foodstuffs that I will need. And if I cannot do that, then I will. Fine, dismissed, Hiruzen barked. As Guy vanished, he placed his head into his cupped hands. Why do I suddenly feel worried? I really need someone to offset Guy's eccentricity. I have it. Guy stared at the figure in front door, then reflexively dodged as Naruto barreled through, forgetting his strength once again. Inu, it's good to see you. Why are you here? The Umbu laughed and pulled off his mask, revealing that he was wearing a second mask across his lower face, as well as having his Hitai 8 angled across his left eye. The Hokage asked me to help look after you and teach you a few tricks. he said with an eye smile at the excitable youth. Guy may be the best taijutsu master in Konoha, but when it comes to ninjutsu, I'm the best. May I enter? Sure. Come in. Naruto bubbled. You already know Guy-sensei then? He's agreed to look after me, and he cooks really nice food. It's almost as good as ramen. He does indeed know me, my youthful apprentice, Guy said, recovering from his surprise. Indeed. Hatake Kakashi is my eternal rival. Did you say something, Guy? Curse your hip and cool ways, Kakashi. Naruto giggled, then looked up at Inu. No, Kakashi. Are you staying as well, like Guy-sensei? If you don't mind, then yes, Kakashi said with another eye smile. And while Guy helps you get your strength under control, I can help you with your chakra. I can tell you have a great deal of it, at least as much as a high-level chunin if not a low-level jonin, so you'll need to practice. And I think I may have an idea on that one, but I'll need to check with the Hokage first. Naruto cheered and Guy lightly placed a hand on his shoulder to prevent him from launching himself into the ceiling. Now, my young apprentice, you remember the kata of the gentle river that I showed you earlier? Good. Head to the sparring hall and practice it while my eternal rival and I talk. Then I'll teach you some more. With another cheer, Naruto dived for the descending staircase. Both Guy and Kakashi winced as he bounced off the side of the stairwell and rolled out of sight. A laugh sounded after the final thud, along with an oops, causing both men to relax. Thank Kami you're here, Kakashi, Guy said quietly. I'm working on getting his strength under control and his reflexes balanced, but he needs more help than I can give him by myself. He doesn't even know how to read or write. I have no idea what that orphanage was doing, but it was most unyouthful of them. Kakashi nodded, his gaze on the stairwell as he pulled a storage scroll from his pocket. I see. Once you're done with him for the day, I'll try to run him through some basic chakra control exercises. Leaf balancing won't work, so I'll have to start with tree climbing. In the meantime, I have my stuff sealed here, so which room should I take? Up the stairs. Naruto has the middle left window room, I have the leftmost. I'd suggest you take the one furthest on the right. Oh, and Kakashi, please make sure that those unyouthful orange books you read are out of his reach. He is much too young to be exposed to those things. Don't worry, Kakashi said as he ambled up the stairs. I may be a pervert, but I don't corrupt kids. That would just be wrong. I did get a book that he might like, though. And don't worry, Guy. There's no smut in it at all. Guy stared at him and Kakashi's visible eye widened as he thought through what he had just said. Romance. No romance in it at all. Besides, it's not smut. It's art. Guy shook his head and moved to follow his student. Guy stirred the pot as he glanced over to where Kakashi and Naruto were sat, with Naruto slowly working his way through the green-covered book that Kakashi had produced. Snatches of the story drifted across and he grinned as he heard the character's name. It was Naruto. I must admit, he mused quietly, I had my doubts, but the tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi was probably the best choice for teaching him to read, despite the fact that it's by the same author as that most unyouthful Ika Ika series. I may just get a copy for myself and one for Lee. From the dining table, Kakashi looked up at him and gave a discreet thumbs up before gently correcting Naruto as he sounded out the next word. Guy smiled and added some seasoning to the simmering liquid, then took a slight taste. All right, he called out as he dished out the soup into 2 ceramic bowls and 1 tempered steel one. Put the book away, my cute youthful apprentice and my eternal rival. It's time to eat. Naruto nodded and carefully placed a bookmark before allowing Kakashi to close the book and move it to a nearby shelf. Guy took advantage of the newly vacated table to slide the bowls into position. Then he grabbed the spoons, noting again with wry amusement that the one Naruto used was of incredible strength compared to the other 2, and still had dent marks from his accidental squeezes as he ate. Ita de Kamasu, they said almost in unison before picking up their spoons. Guy started to eat, then glanced across at Kakashi, who had somehow managed to already inhale a third of his bowl, without seeming to remove his mask. On the other side of the round table, Naruto was eating slowly but steadily, managing not to deform the handle of the spoon any more than it already was. This is wonderful, Guy-sensei, Naruto said between sips. When I get my control good enough to not chop through the worktop again, will you teach me how to cook like this? I would be glad to, Guy said, giving him a thumbs up and a glinting grin. And your control has improved to the point that I think you can help me to train one who will be my other youthful apprentice. He is a year older than you and has an unfortunate inability to use chakra, but his flames of youth are a match for yours. I believe that you will help inspire him to new displays of youthfulness. He is already training hard with weights and has a chance to reach through hard work the level you have achieved due to your Kekkai Genkai. In fact, I would not be surprised if you go to the academy together. Naruto grinned and Kakashi spoke up. You'll need to work more on your chakra control, but I've finally got permission from the Hokage to teach you something that could help. It's called the Kage Bunshin. With your reserves, you'll never be able to do a regular Bunshin, but Hokage-sama said any form of Bunshin would work. Using it, Guy will be able to help you with your physical control while I oversee your chakra control at the same time. That way, you'll be able to learn twice as fast or even faster. Cool, Naruto enthused. Then he froze as a familiar clink sounded. Looking down, he sighed at the sight of the broken handle in his hand and the end of the spoon lying by the side of his bowl. Oops. Never mind, Naruto, Kakashi said, ruffling his hair reassuringly. That one lasted a full 2 weeks. A new record. Wait a moment. Naruto looked sadly at the broken spoon as Kakashi rose and retrieved a new one from the reinforced cutlery drawer. Returning to his chair, he handed the spoon over to Naruto, who gingerly accepted it with a smile before resuming his meal. Hello, are you Guy-sensei's most youthful student, Naruto? Naruto paused in practicing his kata and looked round. Seeing the one who had spoken, it was all he could do not to goggle. At the edge of the clearing stood a lad only slightly older than himself, but that wasn't what transfixed him. Like Guy-sensei, the boy was clad in a green unitard with orange legwarmers wrapped around his lower legs. His hair was black and cut in a bowl shape while his eyebrows were they really eyebrows? Surely no one had brows that bushy. Except for Guy-sensei, that was... Who are you? The boy grinned and took a thumbs-up stance so much like Guy that Naruto blinked. My name is Rock Lee, soon-to-be apprentice of the sublime green beast of Konoha, Mado Guy. Guy-sensei told me that you are also studying under him, although he said that you were seeking to control the conflagration of youthful fire you have gained in order to prevent damaging others with your flames of youth. Naruto blinked several times as he slowly worked his way through what the boy had said, his experience with Guy proving very useful. If I may, Lee continued, may I ask what my wonderful sensei to be meant about your conflagration of youthful fire? It's easier to show you, Naruto said, moving over to one of the boulders surrounding the clearing. Sliding one hand underneath, he felt around for the balance point so that he wouldn't drop it. Then he lifted it one-handed to over his head. Lee's already wide eyes somehow grew larger. It's a Kekkai Genkai, Naruto said with a smile. But it activated wrong, and now I have too much strength and not enough control. Guy-sensei has been helping me to learn to not use my strength. Heck, I still occasionally rip my tunic when I put it on, and Kakashi-sensei says it's tougher than ANBU armor. Lee stared, a wide grin forming on his face. Yash, you are indeed a most youthful person, Naruto-san. I hope to one day be that strong and thus prove that one can achieve through hard work what is gifted to others. I'll be glad to help, Naruto grinned, enjoying Lee's almost infectious excitement. Lee-san, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Two blurs raced along the streets of Konoha towards the academy. Although neither were even genin, they were moving at a speed that most chunin and even a few jonin would have been envious of, leaving two almost parallel lines of dust behind them as they dashed through the main gate of the academy and skidded to a stop. So, panted Naruto as his grinned at his brother in all but blood. Who won? I kind of lost track there. I do not know myself. Lee grinned as he pulled out a small scroll and held it out. Naruto channeled some chakra into it and a pair of weights materialized from it. Placing them on his legs, Lee adjusted his legwarmers to hide them, then took a few experimental paces. I know that if I had been wearing my weights, you would have beaten me. You're getting better way faster than me, though, Naruto laughed. If we'd done this last month, I would probably have won. I cannot disagree with that statement, Naruto and Aikuen. Lee grinned, doing a few stretches to cool down. I have been improving very fast since we first met. I am glad that my hard work in fanning my flames of youth to match your conflagration of youthfulness is starting to pay off. Naruto grunted as he stretched, then he turned back to face Lee. You may be unable to do the rest, but in a straight taijutsu spar I think you'd flatten any chunin. And once we get through the academy, you'll be unstoppable, and I-san. We will be unstoppable. Lee corrected with a wide grin as they started to stroll towards the main entrance where several children and their parents had already assembled waiting for the academy to open. I will prove that a lack of chakra does not prevent one from being a great ninja. And I'll cheer you on and spar with you to fan your flames of youth. Naruto finished, lightly throwing one arm across the taller boy's shoulders and giving him a gentle one-armed hug. Well, gentle for him. Lee laughed as Naruto released him. Your control is improving, Naruto and I-chan. That was only 5 times as strong as someone your size could do. I thank Kami every day that you and Guy-sensei are tough. Naruto admitted with a wry grin. I'm still scared to actually touch anyone else. But you two have the best chance of surviving if my control slips. Speaking of control, I saw you sending out Kage Bunshins again this morning. Lee noted. How many, and what for? My chakra control's still shaky. Shaky heck. Still terrible. I sent out 300. 100 each on tree climbing and water walking, and the rest are practicing hand signs and the 3 jutsus. Lee sighed. Ah, my best friend and eternal rival. There are times that I feel my youthful flames are dim beside yours. I sometimes wonder how things would be had I been gifted with the ability to use chakra even a quarter as powerful as yours. But I am not depressed. I see it as a challenge. Naruto sat down gingerly on the chair that had been specially reinforced for him at the Hokage's request, and placed his steel-encased notebook on the steel and oak desk. Around him, the rest of the students were filtering in and seeking out spaces to sit. Naruto glanced left to see Lee give him a grin and a thumbs up. Do not worry, my most youthful friend. Our flames of youth shall let us overcome all obstacles so that we may become great ninja. Does he always speak like that? Naruto jolted at the unexpected voice, causing his chair to creak in protest. Then he turned and looked to where the voice had come from. A girl clad in a wrap top and loose trousers was looking at him, her expression quizzical. Ah yeah, but you get used to it. He's Rock Lee, I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Higurashi Tenten, the girl said, staring at him intently. Why is your chair reinforced like that? Naruto and Iakuin's flames of youth are a veritable conflagration, granting him incredible strength. Rock Lee declaimed, and Naruto had to restrain himself from rolling his eyes. His youthfulness also grants him great speed and superior senses. But I have some control issues with them. Naruto interrupted. I've got my usable strength down to under 10 times normal, but it's hard to not accidentally damage anything around me. Tenten's eyes widened in surprise. It's a Kekkai Genkai, Naruto explained almost sheepishly. Trouble is, it activated wrong when I got hit by a stone. It was meant to make me stronger as I aged, but it went from off to full without warning. Wow, Tenten whispered. I wonder how you do with kunai and shuriken, if you're that strong. All right, brats, listen up, came a strong voice from the front of the classroom. My name is Akamichi Akima and I'm your teacher. Now, time for register. Raise your hand when I call your name. Hee hee. Oops. Everyone was staring at the training dummy, which had a hole punched straight through it. Behind the dummy, a tree had an almost identical hole, as did the tree on the other side of the path, the stone wall behind the tree, the wall of the house behind that wall, and, judging from the cursing going on, several items of furniture inside the house in question. You did say to throw it hard, sensei. Akima tore his gaze away from the path of destruction and sighed deeply. Okay, until further notice, you are to throw shuriken and kunai as lightly as you can without sacrificing accuracy. I heard you were strong, but… Come over here. Now, punch the training log. Naruto nodded, took a deep breath and settled into one of the stances that Guy had taught him. Ducking slightly, he unleashed a powerful uppercut. The airborne log dwindled as it arced towards the horizon, a trail of splinters marking its path, the rapidly fading thwip-thwip of its passage the only noise in the practice field. Okay, Naruto, you are excused from sparring. I'll spar with him, sensei, Rock Lee exclaimed excitedly. Naruto and Iakuin has been my sparring partner for over a year, and it helps us fan our flames of youth to unmatched levels. Akima stared at Lee, obviously unable to form a coherent thought. Excuse me, did I hear you say you sparred with him? Naruto turned to look at the speaker, who turned out to be a boy with long black hair and pale eyes that lacked pupils. You, You're Hyuga Niji, right? The correctly identified boy nodded, his gaze fixated on Lee, who spoke in his usual excited tone. Regarding sparring with Naruto-kun, I do indeed, and it helps my speed and strength to reach heights unsurpassed by any but my beautiful sensei, Madogai, and my most youthful friend Naruto. You spar with the boy who just punched a training log out of Konoha? I hold back, Naruto protested. The silence of the onlookers told him that his protest hadn't helped his situation in the slightest. Well, if you're certain, Lee, you two get the first spar. Try not to kill each other. Lee grinned widely and Naruto replied with his normal foxy grin as they entered the ring. Naruto settled into his gentle river stance while Lee straightened into a classic Goken stance. Hajime. Both figures seemed to blur as the sound of rock-hard flesh hitting rock-hard flesh echoed through the academy grounds. Clouds of dust obscured the blurred figures from the onlookers' gaze as they exchanged blurring combinations of punches and kicks. Then one of the figures was launched out of the circle and straight through a tree. All the watchers gasped. My youthful friend, are you all right? I did not hurt you, did I? I'm fine, Lee. Naruto laughed as he pulled himself upright, absently breaking the branches that had landed on top of him as he did so. That was quite a move you pulled at the end. I wasn't expecting that one. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen it before. What was it? A most youthful variation of the rising leaf fist taught to me by our wonderful sensei. Lee grinned. I was unsure that it would work against you, but when you did that mid-air attack, I realized that you would be unable to resist it. Naruto laughed and bowed to Lee, who returned it. It worked. It would have been a KO against anyone apart from me. Get the strength up, and it'll probably take me out as well. I shall practice it most diligently. Lee laughed with pleasure. And I shall use it to enhance our flames of youth to levels unmatched by anyone else. The shocked students watched the two walk off. Then one of them spoke in a trembling voice. Are they even human? Tenten sat down and pulled out her bento box, then glanced over at the two boys that the class had almost unanimously designated as the dangerous duo, when they weren't being called the twin dragons of destruction or the growing in popularity Okami. It's them, run away, run away. Her eyebrows rose at the sight. Naruto was carefully eating ramen using metal chopsticks. Despite the obvious care he was taking, the chopsticks had slight dents from where he had obviously squeezed too hard, while the metal bowl containing the ramen was almost an inch thick, and was likewise boasting a number of small pressure-induced dents. And she recognized them. Her father had made several sets like that a year or two back, and he occasionally had to make replacements. Lee's choice of utensils was also surprising. Like Naruto, he was using chopsticks, but his chopsticks were made of lacquered paper and a small box by the side of his meal held several more of the thin paper tubes. The box in which his sushi was placed was obviously made out of very thin paper with a thin layer of lacquer preventing it from collapsing. She had to ask, "Pardon the intrusion, but why are the two of you using such odd chopsticks?" "Metal ones are the only sort that don't break for me at the moment," Naruto said. And Lee is working on enhancing his control by using chopsticks that are as fragile for him as these ones are for me. Tenten's eyes widened. She had helped to make some of those metal chopsticks, high-grade rolled steel with a strength rating better suited to a club or sword. And they were as fragile as paper tubes to Naruto? Just how strong was he? That is indeed the case. My youthful friend has great difficulties with fragile items, or even items that people like you would not consider fragile. So he needs those metal chopsticks to aid him in practicing his control while he eats. And since it is such a youthful training method with many advantages, I use these paper chopsticks to train myself in the art of, oh bother. Lee sighed as he put down the broken chopstick that he had, in his excitement, accidentally tapped against the table, causing it to bend out of shape, and took a new chopstick out of the box. Don't worry, Lee, Naruto laughed. I blame the table for that one. Yes, Lee shouted. I shall buy the most delicate table I can and use it to help me train my control. It might be cheaper for you to make a table, rather than buy one. Naruto warned quickly. Then he face-bombed. I can't believe I just let myself get sucked in like that. Fragile tables. I'm not sure that that's a good idea, Lee. Tenten tried to hide her giggles. Then her gaze slid to the knife which was seemingly glued to Naruto's leg. Naruto-san, where did you get that knife from? It's amazing. Naruto paused, then pulled at the knife. To Tenten's astonishment, it was not held in place by a hidden strap or anything like that. How did it do that? It's a mystical knife that was a gift to me by someone who believed in my potential, Naruto said as Lee picked up a leaf and gently lowered it onto the blade. The blade cut through the leaf without any resistance at all, and Naruto placed the knife on the table and motioned for her to examine it. Tenten eagerly reached out, and her hand passed straight through the handle as if it wasn't there. What the? Naruto and Lee both smiled at the shock on her face. Only I can use that knife, and I can call it back to me at will, Naruto said, holding his hand up and curling his fingers, whispering the word, come, as he did so. An instant later, the knife had appeared in his hand. It is only solid in my grasp. A thuf the blade remains sharp if I throw it at something. No one except me can use it, and I have been told that as I grow older and gain more control over my chakra, I'll be able to make it change shape. Tenten's eyes widened and she stared almost reverently at the blade as Naruto returned it to his thigh, where once again it affixed itself without any noticeable support. That is, I've heard of the Raijin, a sword made out of lightning, but that knife, what is it? My youthful friend's most incredible knife is called the Kitsune's Fong, Lee said before popping another bit of sushi into his mouth. Swallowing, he continued, it is a most incredible blade, able to slice through anything, and will surely be part of Naruto's most youthful legend when he becomes a fully fledged ninja. Yeah, what Lee said. Kitsune's Fong, wonderful knife. Sharp. Tenten giggled again. Hello, my cute and youthful students. Does the academy continue to fan the flames of your youthfulness? Yash Gai-sensei, I am learning new things every day, and I shall prove that being a genius of hard work allows even one who cannot use chakra to become a truly great shinobi. Naruto smiled at Lee's enthusiasm. It went great, Gai-sensei. Today, most of the class started to learn the leaf exercise. After I caused it to explode for the 4th time, they agreed to let me practice by doing the tree walking and water walking. Naruto and Ikuin and myself had a most youthful spar today, Lee added. We fought each other to a standstill, showing that our flames of youth were undiminished. Excellent. I have prepared another meal to provide fuel for your flames of youth, Guy said expansively as he waved them in. From where he was sitting at the steel-braced table, Kakashi gave a lazy wave, sliding an orange book into his pocket as he did so. You need to eat well so your flames of youth remain undimmed. Is that not so, my eternal rival? You say something, Guy. Arf. Once again with that hip and too cool attitude, Kakashi. Naruto managed to stifle his snickers as he sat down and looked at the food before him. Gai-sensei, for all his eccentricities, was undoubtedly the best chef he had ever met. Good afternoon. Ah, Hokage-sama, please come in, be seated. We were just about to eat, Guy declaimed, and Naruto looked across. Hi, Gigi. Hello, Naruto, Lee, Kakashi. Hiruzen smiled, removing his hat and sitting down as Guy started to serve the meal. I hope you don't mind me joining you, but I wanted to check on how you were doing. You are halfway through the 1st year. Is everything going well? Sure is, Naruto grinned. I've made several new friends and… Thanks, Gai-sensei. This looks wonderful as always. Where was I? Yes, several new friends and I've learned loads. Some of it is a bit boring, but Kakashi-sensei and Gai-sensei said that if I wanted to be one of the best ninja ever, I should learn it, so I did. That's good to hear, Hiruzen said. Then he shifted his attention across. And Lee, how is your studying going? My flames of youth are truly being fanned to a veritable inferno of youthful energy and passion, with the studying at the academy and the spars I have with my most youthful friend Naruto here, Lee said eagerly. I am making progress despite my handicap, and I hope to join the ranks of the shinobi under our command, where I shall prove that being a genius of hard work is superior to being a genius of simple skill. Naruto hid a smirk at Hiruzen's blank and slightly dazed expression. I see. That is good to hear. Oh, thanks, Guy. This smells wonderful. Welcome back, my 2 favorite cute students. I have made a marvelous repast to celebrate. Your flames of youth seem diminished. What happened? Kakashi seemed to appear behind Guy and stared at the duo. Lee was wearing his hittai like a belt, the same way that Guy did, and once again Kakashi had to restrain himself from sighing. Despite his best efforts to persuade him otherwise, Lee had insisted on molding himself in the image and style of the Jonin who had seen the potential in him and found him a sparring partner to help him maximize his potential. Naruto, though. Naruto-kun, where is your Hitayate? Kakashi asked, his voice filled with concern. Naruto sighed. I don't have one. Kakashi froze in shock while Guy raised his eyebrows. How is that possible, Naruto-kun? I know that Kakashi drilled you in Henge, Kawarimi, and Kagebunshin until you could do all three without seals, and both he and I have taught you all the other things you needed to know, so how could you have not passed? The examiners made a most unyouthful decision and disallowed the Kagebunshin. Lee said, watching worriedly as Naruto trudged through the doorway. They said that the test called for a pure bunshin, and that if Naruto could not perform such a jutsu, he could not pass. And with Naruto's chakra reserves, he is unable to use a pure bunshin and probably never will. Kakashi growled, clenching his fists. Damn it! I was sure that he'd pass with flying colors. I should have followed your example and made him my apprentice, Guy. If I go the Hokage now, maybe I can. Guy turned and placed his hand firmly on Kakashi's shoulder. Kakashi, whilst Lee is now my student, along with 2 others, Naruto is more than welcome to join my team for training. In addition, I shall ensure whenever I am not leading my team, I will be there to help Naruto continue to refine his control. When the next exam comes around, I'll take Naruto as my apprentice then, so that they can't sabotage his passing. Kakashi nodded, then he blinked. It just occurred to me. This way, he has a chance to meet students his own age, rather than those a year or 2 older than him. Guy nodded, then frowned. I heard that the last Uchiha is in that year. As the only other Sharingan wielder in Konoha, he will be assigned to my team. Kakashi finished with a sigh. I hear he's an arrogant snob, but with Naruto, I know that at least I'll have one pupil I can get along with. Even if you have corrupted him somewhat with your youthfulness. He has combined my youthfulness with your hip and too cool attitude, creating something unique. Guy smiled, looking across to where Lee was talking quietly to Naruto. I shall train him for the next few weeks until the academy restarts. Maybe trying to wear him out will keep him from brooding, although with his stamina that will be tricky. Kakashi nodded slowly. I have nothing useful at this time. Tell me if you need help with anything. Good morning, class, and welcome to your final year. We have a new student joining us, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto nodded at the students facing him, his eyes darting across as he tried to identify them. That one's an Akamichi, hard to mistake that body shape. Shades and big coat, no expression, has to be an Abarum. The sleepy one is obviously a Nara, the blonde girl, Yamanaka. Wonder if I'm a Yamanaka. They're the only other blondes in the village other than me. Emo boy has to be Uchiha Sasuke. Wow, his hair looks just like a duck's, but how does he get it like that? Boy with dog, obviously an Inuzuka. Dark-haired girl with pale eyes, Hyuga? Doesn't seem stuck up like Niji. Wonder if she's his sister or something. Pink hair, what? Pink? Okay, I got nothing. I have no clue what clan she comes from. I wonder what her special skill is. Naruto. Naruto jolted. Yes, Irika-sensei? What did you say? Irika sighed. I can believe Kakashi helped to raise you. I said, can you please introduce yourself to the class? Oh, sorry. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I've studied under Hitaki Kakashi-sensei, who know hundreds of jutsus, and Mado Gai-sensei, who is the best taijutsu master in the village. I often spar with Guy's student Rock Lee, who is the only person my age strong enough for me to be able to fight with without having to hold back too much. My likes are making friends, cooking, learning stuff, and ramen. I dislike those who judge others without getting to know them first, and those who try to bully others. And my special skill is a Kekkai Genkai, which means I'm awesomely strong. How strong are you? Naruto managed to hide his surprise. The question had come from the Nara boy, who was sitting up and staring at him. I don't really know. I once punched a log almost out of Konoha and threw a kunai through a target dummy and several trees. And 2 walls, a sofa, a table, a door, and into another wall. Irika sighed. That throw is legendary, and the reason why Naruto is excused target practice at the academy. As for sparring, none of you can hope to defeat him in a straight taijutsu fight. Naruto nodded. Only Gai-sensei and Leonai-san can beat me. Sasuke scoffed. Like we'd fall for that. You must be a real dobe to think you could get away with claiming that. Irika stared at the Uchiha for a moment, then glanced at the other adult in the room, who looked back at him. Alright, Sasuke, I give you permission to spar with Naruto after lunch. Naruto, please be gentle with him. In the meantime, there's a spare seat by Hinata. Hinata, please raise your hand. The Hyuga girl raised her right hand and Naruto walked over and sat down, mentally thanking Kami that he had finally managed to get his control to a level where he could pass for a slightly stronger than normal boy as long as he paid attention to what he was doing. Go Sasuke-kun. Naruto winced slightly as the shrieks of the fangirls assaulted his ears and Sasuke took position opposite him, a superior smirk on his face. You face the last Uchiha, Uzumaki. Surrender now and you won't get hurt. Naruto hid a grin. This was just too perfect. Did you say something? Sasuke's expression instantly darkened as Naruto imitated Kakashi. Growling slightly, he dropped into a stance that Naruto recognized. The intercepting fist. But he hasn't activated his Sharingan yet, so that leaves several open spots I can capitalize on. Begin! Even as Sasuke tensed, preparing to attack, Naruto moved. Holding his strength back meant very little in relation to his speed and he had been practicing with Guy and Lee-san's weights. To the watchers, he seemed to vanish and reappear just in front of Sasuke, pushing his hand into Sasuke's face. Then he was gone and reappearing behind Sasuke, striking out even as Sasuke jolted back from the first impact. 6 more strikes and Naruto returned to his starting position as if he had never moved, while Sasuke staggered, trying not to fall over as he recovered from the high-speed series of light slaps. Sensei, I learned a certain taijutsu move from Kakashi-sensei. If Sasuke refuses to forfeit now that I have shown just how outmatched he is, I will use the secret village jutsu on him. Iruka paled. He had seen Kakashi use it, and knew exactly what Naruto was referring to. By his side, Mizuki scoffed. You're bluffing. Why would Kakashi teach you of all people? I don't know. Naruto shrugged as Sasuke managed to pull himself back into his starting stance. Perhaps because we live under the same roof? Do your worst, dope. Sasuke sneered. I'm ready for you this time. Naruto, don't. Iruka started to shout, but it was too late. Naruto had moved, his hands forming the tiger seal. Ultimate secret village technique. 1,000 years of pain. With a strangled scream, Sasuke was launched into the air, both hands clasped on his behind. His fading scream was the only sound anyone heard, as almost everyone else was staring in horrified amazement at Naruto, who was half-crouched with his hands thrust out in front of him. A distant splash announced that Sasuke had made contact with the pond. Do it. Iruka finished with a sigh. You know, there are few ways that are both more painful and humiliating to defeat an opponent without doing damage that needs medical treatment. I think I need to speak to Kakashi about what he's taught you. Guy-sensei taught me too, Iruka-sensei. Naruto said, causing those who knew Guy or knew about him to stare at him, jaws dropped in shock. He said that my flames of youth are amongst the brightest he has ever seen. Iruka shook his head and glanced over at the assembled and still shocked audience. Okay, I am outlawing that move for all future spars in the academy grounds. And if anyone is idiotic enough to take on the student of both Kakashi and Guy outside the academy, they deserve whatever they get. Naruto, how long have they been teaching you? Naruto frowned. Well, Guy-sensei started teaching me to control my Kekkai Genkai a bit after I turned 5. He waited until my 7th birthday to start my taijutsu instruction. Kakashi-sensei started me out on chakra control at the same time, you know, the whole tree walking and water walking thing, and he also started to teach me ninjutsu when I turned 7. So, say 6 years for control and a bit over 4 for the rest. How the hell did you fail your graduation exam? Iruka asked, a shocked expression on his face. Naruto shrugged. I have too much chakra to do a pure bunshin and the examiners refused to accept any other sort. Kakashi-sensei's taught me several other sorts. The first one that he taught me was the Kage Bunshin, which I use loads for training, and after that exam fiasco, he taught me the water clone, fire clone, and earth clone techniques. I think it was so that the examiners would look like total morons if they tried to fail me for that reason again. Iruka blinked several times. You know, for different clone jutsus? Naruto nodded. Yep. Guy-sensei's taught me 3 different taijutsu styles, but not the Goken. That one he reserved for Lee, who's his apprentice and I understand his reasons. Goken makes you stronger as you learn it, and I'm way too strong as is. He's also taught me physical and mental self-control, and cooking, so I really owe him. Kakashi taught me to read, do maths, history, and almost 50 different jutsus. He even tested my affinity, its wind, by the way, and he said that he's going to try and arrange lessons for me in how to use it. Irika looked dazed by the revelations, as did several of the other students. And with all of that, you failed because of a plain bunshin? Irika asked. What in Kami's name were those examiners thinking? I am so going to have to persuade the Hokage to change the graduating requirements because of this. I wouldn't bother, Naruto drawled. The civilian council's responsible for the academy, and they're trying to screw things so that more civilian kids get waved through. That's why the genin test failure rate has gone way up. Anyone not of a ninja clan's pretty much screwed since the academy doesn't cover the things that ninja really need to know. Nutritional requirements, physical conditioning and fitness levels. Hinata over there's the only academy kunoichi from this year that I think has a clue on that one. Situational awareness, the art of camouflage and hiding, not wearing bright colors like pink or red. The standard things that give you a chance of not dying in your first mission outside Konoha. Instead, we learn about dead guys and shinobi rules that don't work when actually applied. If I hadn't been taught what I have, I'd have been really screwed when I finally made it out there. For almost a minute, silence ruled as everyone stared at Naruto. He looked round and shrugged. What? I learned from the best. And when I do get out there, I'll prove how good I am. Irika shook his head. But if you need to perform a standard bunshin, and you have too much chakra for it, meh, I'll be fine, Naruto said dismissively. Kakashi-sensei filled in the paperwork yesterday and the Hokage approved it. At the end of the year, pass or fail, I'm going on his team as his apprentice like Lee is for Guy. Would be there already, but none of us thought the examiner would be such a stuck-up moron. Oh, hi team. Enjoy your swim. From beside Irika, the dripping figure of Sasuke glowered. Could it be true? Sakura said as she sat beside Ino, both of them looking at their light lunches. Could what be true? What Narutobaka said, Sakura said, poking at her salad. I mean, I'm about the only civilian that is near the top, everyone else is from a clan. And most of the reason that I'm near the top is because I do so well in the tests, and they're all history and stuff. I don't know, Ino mused. Dad's been telling me to eat more, and Mom's been trying to add more to my lunchbox, but I don't want to get fat. But from what he said about Hinata being the only one of us who has a clue about that, she eats more than we do, but… Sakura nodded, glancing over to where Hinata was sat beside Naruto, listening to him and occasionally turning red. My dad warned me not to try and use my family's jutsu on Naruto, Ino added. He said that if I survived doing so, he'd lock me away for being so damn stupid. Who is Naruto? What do we know about him? He's an orphan, Sakura said, her brow creased in concentration. My mum mentioned that he was born on the day the Kyuubi attacked and he lost both parents to the Kyuubi. Then that's the place to start, Ino said firmly. Tomorrow we hit the archives. I'll bring Choji and Shikamaru along. Shika's lazy, but brilliant. You know paperwork. Choji can help us move stuff around. Yep, we'll hit the archives tomorrow and see how much we can find out about him. Sakura, over here. Sakura walked up and smiled at her friend and rival. Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, sorry I'm late. We've only just arrived ourselves, Ino said, glaring at Shikamaru. Lazy-ass here wanted to spend all day either in bed or cloud watching. Troublesome blonde, Shikamaru groused. Ino elbowed him. Okay, let's go. As they entered the records hall, Sakura pulled out a sheet of paper and unfolded it. I wrote down everything I knew or could remember about Naruto, as well as my deductions. Shikamaru took the sheet and scanned it quickly. Uzumaki Naruto, born September 10th, day of Kyuubi attack. Both parents killed in said attack, blonde hair and blue eyes, whisker birthmarks. Kekkai Genkai grants enhanced strength and toughness, able to throw kunai through multiple walls, able to defeat any academy student in combat, able to beat Sasuke-kun, taught by Mado Guy and Hitaki Kakashi, knows 4 clone types, knows approximately 50 jutsu, total may include clones. Good start, Sakura. You forgot hated by majority of village for unknown reason, but good start. Sakura nodded as Ino halted, looking round. Here we are, records from the Kyuubi attack. Okay, first we check for any Uzumakis. Uzumaki Kushina, Ino read from the file. Female jonin formerly of Whirlpool. Well, since she's the only Uzumaki we've been able to find, I guess that she's probably Naruto's mom. Shika? There is a family resemblance in the facial structure. Shikamaru said after examining the picture in the file and the photo of Naruto that they had brought with them. Overall, I would say very likely. Ino nodded. She looks a bit like him and she has his surname. So where do his eyes and hair come from? His dad, Choji asked, and Ino nodded. I agree. We need to find all the blonde shinobi who died that day, then sort out the ones with blue eyes. Shika, keep reading, try to get confirmation that she's Naruto's mom. Sakura, Choji, let's search. Blonde hair and blue eyes. Sakura nodded and started to work her way through the files. The first dozen or so were all aburame with black hair. Then other colors started to appear. Brown, red, silver. The first blonde appeared, but he had green eyes, so Sakura returned the file to the shelf, mentally noting its location as she continued to work her way through the many files. After half an hour of searching, only 2 files had been placed on the table. Who'd have thought? Choji exclaimed. Blonde hair is really rare in Konoha. I only found 4 male blondes, and only 1 had blue eyes. 7 and none respectively, Sakura said, wiping her forehead before the sweat could drip into her eyes. 4 and 1, Ino said. Choji, who did you find? Choji opened the file, looked at the name and swallowed. Yamanaka Kenshin, Chunin. Ino pulled the file across and stared at the picture for several minutes, then shook her head. Hair's the wrong shade of blonde, too light, and he looks nothing like Naruto. Then this will be troublesome, Shikamaru said, looking up from the other folder. This one has hair and eyes exactly the same as Naruto and similar facial features. In fact, Naruto could almost be this guy reborn. Ino leaned over, her eyes going straight to the picture. Kami, you're right about his looks. Naruto is going to go up hot. Damn it, I may have to challenge Hinata for him. Same grin, his eyes are the same, who is? No way. There is no way. I can't believe it. We must have missed another blonde in the archives. Sakura leaned over and glanced at the picture. Sure enough, the man in it looked exactly like a de-whiskered, aged-up Naruto. Then she saw the name and her jaw dropped. Naruto's dad is the Yondaime Hokage? Choji leaned over to look. Wow, must be. I mean, just look at him. They both died in a cave outside Konoha, Shikamaru said slowly as he scanned the data. He died from severe abdominal wounds and performing a classified jutsu. She died from severe abdominal wounds and childbirth complications. Too many coincidences. Must be them. Troublesome. Ino and Sakura stared at each other, unable to speak. No one noticed the pale-eyed dark-haired girl who had been shadowing them hurry out of the archives, her eyes wide in shock. Why do you keep staring at me? Naruto half yelled, causing Irika to look up from marking the papers in front of him. You lot keep staring at me as if I've grown another head or something. Irika glanced at the rest of the class. Sakura, whose gaze was normally fixated on Sasuke, was indeed staring at Naruto, her eyes filled with an odd mixture of disbelief and shock. Ino was also staring intently at Naruto, while Choji's gaze was interested, but placid. Shikamaru was actually awake and was glancing at Naruto with a calculating air. Hinata was also glancing at Naruto, but Irika mentally marked that as normal, because she had been doing that since the first day he had joined the class. Irika sighed and prepared the jutsu that always worked in situations like this. Everyone shut up and pay attention. Releasing the big head jutsu, Irika smirked as everyone's attention snapped back to the front of the classroom. Now, the lesson for today is the defeat of the Kyuubi. Ino half shouted as she rose from her seat. Sir, how did the 4th actually defeat the Kyuubi? What role did Uzumaki Kushina from Whirlpool play? Was Kushina really Naruto's mother? Why was she on the front lines despite having just given birth? Did she have the same blood limit that Naruto has? Did the Yondaime have a blood limit? What happened? Ino, shut up a moment. Ino paled and sat down as Irika used the big head jutsu again, but her litany of questions had caught the attention of everyone in the classroom. Ino, many of those answers are classified. I am not allowed to answer them at this time. What I can tell you is what you already know, that the Kyuubi attacked Konoha and the 4th used a very powerful jutsu to defeat it, at the cost of his life. Defeat, not kill, Shikamaru said, his body tense. The Yondaime was a master of Fuinjutsu, better even than Jiraiya of the Sannin. He probably used a seal to defeat the QB. But what happened to it? All that chakra must have gone somewhere. What sort of seal could hold something like the QB? Sakura asked, following Shikamaru's logic. What container would be strong enough? Irika and Mizuki were both sweating. The reaction of our teachers indicates that your speculations are more accurate than they are currently comfortable with, Shino said from the back of the classroom. I admit to curiosity about the fate of the QB. My clan experimented with seals to complement our fighting style, but all those who tried were unable to master Fuinjitsu to the required degree. We did, however, learn quite a bit about sealing in the process. The QB was an incredibly strong entity. Whatever it was sealed into would have needed to be a living being with a chakra system to imprison the QB. Otherwise, the Yukai of the QB would have caused extreme strain on the container, causing it to break and releasing the QB to continue its actions from where it was interrupted. Sakura turned white and stared at Naruto, as did Ino. What? This is beyond troublesome, Shikamaru groused. If you take a kunai and seal it into a scroll, does that turn the scroll into the kunai? Shino has Kekkai inside him. Does that mean he is a Kekkai? Anyone who thinks so is being stupid, and that is just so troublesome. This is bad, Kit. Kyubi's voice sounded inside Naruto's mind. Looks like both your secrets are out. Both? Naruto thought, still looking at Sakura and Ino. What do you mean both? A sigh sounded in the back of his mind. The way those two are staring at you and what that kid just said, they know that I'm sealed inside you. And the questions about blood limits earlier, they either know or suspect your parentage. Wait a minute, Naruto gasped, not realizing he was speaking aloud. Are you saying my mom was Kushina and my dad? Troublesome, but it seems that way, Shikamaru said, lowering his head onto his folded arms. Take away the whiskers and you could be the Yondaime reborn. I don't know why no one ever saw it. Heck, I don't know why I never saw it. It's such a drag. The entire class was staring at Naruto. Sakura, Ino, Shikamaru, stay behind. Everyone else, lessons are over for the day. Go. Hayashi raised an eyebrow in query as he looked into the Hyuga archive and saw his eldest daughter searching the files, muttering under her breath as she did so. Moving silently to just behind her, he listened to her mutters. Marriage contract, marriage contract. I know I saw it here somewhere when I was helping Kosan sorting out the filing system. Marriage contract. Aha, let's see. As requested by Uzumaki Kushina, wife of wife, Ino and Shikamaru were right, and witnessed by Hayashi Hyuga and Namikaze Minato, it is agreed, unmarked by the cage bird seal. Into the Namikaze clan. Oh, Kami. I was right. Ino, Sakura, and Shikamaru were right. About what? Hinata leapt into the air with a high-pitched eep, before spinning round, eyes wide. Dan, what are you? I could ask the same question, daughter, Hayashi said with a frown. Should you not still be at the academy? They'll let us out early, T2-san, Hinata said, looking down. But we'll learn something in CL class that I had T to check. And what did you learn? Hayashi asked coldly. Hinata took a deep breath and steeled herself. That Uzumaki Naruto is the son of Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage, she said softly but clearly. Hayashi froze. That can't be right. The council confirmed that Minato's entire family died during the Kyubi attack, and that the one who was tasked with a certain burden was given her name to honor her sacrifice. Then why did the Yondaime choose Naruto to be the vessel of the Kyubi? Hinata asked, deepening Hayashi's shock even more. Who could he trust to hold that burden, other than his own son? Hayashi's eyes widened further. It had been the council who had announced the deaths of the entire Namikaze clan. But they had done so before Hiruzen had returned to the position of Hokage. And as for Naruto, Danzo had kept insisting that the boy be given to him. But what if it was for more than being turned into Konoha's weapon? If he was Minato's son, he stood to inherit a fortune, as well as the jutsu stored in the sealed Namikaze mansion. The thought of what Danzo could do with the Raishin and the Rasengan, not to mention the scrolls on Fuinjitsu that Minato was reputed to have written, was terrifying. Lost in his thoughts, Hayashi failed to see Hinata sneak away, the contract secure in her hands. Sarutobi looked at the trio of students in front of him, then rubbed his forehead. Let me get this straight. Because of your curiosity and inability to keep quiet, one of the S-ranked secrets of the village has been released and is undoubtedly being spread. while you came so close to releasing a second one, that coincidentally has the potential to totally ruin the life of the person it is about, that even I cannot fathom how no one else picked up on it. Have I missed anything? This is such a drag. Shikamaru sighed. I'm assuming the first secret was Naruto's parents. I must point out that keeping it a secret even from Naruto is just wrong. He deserved to know. The only real reason I can come up with for not telling him is that by not telling him, he would not look for an inheritance and thus it could be taken away from him without causing a big investigation. It was to protect Naruto. Hiruzen snapped. His father made many enemies. Enemies who would stop at nothing to see the Namake's line driven to extinction. Naruto has insane levels of speed and strength, lives with and studies under the two strongest Jonin in Konoha, and is more advanced than a Chunin. Shikamaru stated. If he cannot defend himself, then over half of the ninja of Konoha need to reconsider their employment. How much does he stand to inherit? Hiruzen pulled out a folder and flipped it open. Shikamaru looked at the first page and his eyebrows almost hit his hairline. Wow! He could destroy the economy of the village by deciding to move it to the capital. How much is it? Sakura asked. The Haruno clan are responsible for almost 4% of Konoha's financial reserves. Shika showed her the number and Sakura's eyes widened in shock. How? The Uzumaki fortune. Hiruzen sighed. When Whirlpool fell, most of its wealth was smuggled out by the few survivors and Naruto's mother inherited it. And it wasn't my choice to try and deny it to him. But you're the Hokage, Ino protested. You can do what you want. But he is just one man, Shikamaru said. An old man who retired from the job once and who only took it back after his successor died. He doesn't want this job, but there is no one else he can trust to do it. I would guess that keeping Naruto ignorant of his legacy was the price of support from the civilian council in exchange for not tormenting him directly as he holds the Kyuubi. Hiruzen nodded and Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome. If you haven't been building up support for yourself, things are about to become a real drag. Naruto is technically a ninja at the moment, but if he leaves the academy, he'll become a civilian, giving him the right to leave at any time. As the last of his clan, he has the right to demand all his clan's belongings so he can re-establish his clan elsewhere, including any symbols. Shikamaru trailed off and Hiruzen nodded slowly. Including the spiral that is part of the leaf and the one on the Jonin jackets. He said soberly, should Naruto decide to leave, Konoha will become the laughing talk of the shinobi world, and the damned civilian council refuse to understand. They see the fox, not the boy, and nothing I can say makes them think otherwise. Ino and Sakura exchanged a glance, then Sakura raised her hand. We're sorry about the whole parent thing, we didn't know it was meant to be a secret. Although it wasn't actually all that well hidden, you should have removed his mother's files if you had wanted it to be a secret. I thought it had been removed. Hiruzen grumped. And as for the Kyuubi thing, apart from us, I think only Shino really figured it out, and he has bugs in him, so he won't be freaked by it and everyone else will be talking about him being the Yandame's son, so I think that secret is still secure. Hiruzen sighed and nodded. You're probably right. As you were unaware that it was meant to be a secret, you won't be punished this time, but next time you decide to investigate something, for Kami's sake check in first with Anbu, myself, or one of the clan heads before going public with it. Yes, Hokage-sama. Hi. Understood. How troublesome. Dismissed. The three students fled before Sarutobi could change his mind. He sat back, massaging his head for a moment, then spoke again. Are you sure he'll forgive me for this? The air in the corner of the room seemed to shimmer. Then Guy and Kakashi appeared. Naruto will not blame you, Guy said soberly. I am certain he will understand that the knowledge of his parentage was kept from him for his own safety. I agree with Guy on this, Kakashi said. Yes, I know, Rare. But he's right. Naruto will understand, but you need to speak to him about it. And not here. He'll need to be somewhere familiar and reassuring. Guy and Kakashi exchanged a glance. Then Guy nodded. Hokage-sama, will you be available to visit for tea? I shall, Hiruzen said slowly. And afterwards, given how many secrets have spilled, I think I shall take Naruto to his father's mansion. Kakashi, will you come as well? It'll be good to see it again, Kakashi said with a smile. I'll show him where the jutsu vault is. Maybe he can learn the Hiraishin. Naruto pretended to pay attention to what Iruka was saying, but it was hard. His mind kept leaping back to 3 months prior when the Hokage had confirmed his heritage, explained how he had ended up with the QB sealed inside him, as if he didn't already know from his discussions with the Biju in question, and had taken Naruto to see his family home and claim the Jutsu scrolls stored there. That was when things had started to go horribly wrong. The first sign was when, instead of reacting correctly to Naruto's blood and dispelling, the seal on the main gate had shattered, causing the gate to crack. Kakashi had gone pale at that and, at Naruto's query, explained that the seal had been tampered with. Someone had broken into the mansion. The mansion itself had been hidden by some trees, which may have explained why no one had seen it burn down. Under Kakashi's direction, Naruto had unearthed the entrance to the Jutsu vault and found that the seal to the vault had been broken as well. Hiruzen had gone white upon discovering that. Inside the vault, however, it became obvious that the last of the security seals had done their job. The scrolls that had been stored there had been reduced to piles of ash, the only recognizable parts being the metal end caps. The end caps of the scrolls containing the Rasengan and Hiraishin had been identified by Kakashi, so whoever had managed to break through had not been able to actually secure any of the jutsu. Hiruzen's guess was that the thief, whoever he or she was, had burned down the mansion after realizing that the jutsu of the Yondaime had, quite literally, gone up in smoke. However, the main problem was that with the mansion and its contents destroyed, Naruto was unable to access the Namikaze/Uzumaki wealth, even with the Hokage's backing. Whoever the thief was, he or she had destroyed Naruto's inheritance. And since Jiraiya of the Sannin had, at Hiruzen's request, placed Naruto's birth certificate and other documents in the house since he was one of the few the seal was set to recognize, the paperwork proving Naruto's lineage was gone. And the civilian council had pounced on that opportunity, officially denying that he was the Yondaime's son, quoting the total lack of paperwork in his favor, a move supported by none of the clan heads, but by the three advisors overruling Hiruzen. For some reason, Hinata had been incredibly upset over the council's decision to officially disinherit him. Naruto himself had been almost incandescent with rage, as was the Kyuubi. However, it had been Hinata who had talked him out of going directly after the council. She had proven herself a true friend and valued comrade. If only she could stop turning red. Naruto was getting worried about what could be wrong with her to cause such a thing. No one ever discovered who painted whiskers on the Yondaime's face, thus showing the resemblance between Naruto and Minato. At the time it was done, Naruto was facing the council trying to argue his case. Naruto had, however, been the one to single-handedly, literally, demolish the new plaque celebrating the most recent and not-so-recent members of the civilian council. He had been let off by the Hokage with a verbal warning. As much as try not to get caught next time could be considered a warning anyway. After that incident, Naruto stopped trying at the academy, often skipping class for a week at a time and taking out his frustrations on the wildlife in the Forest of Death. In a bizarre coincidence, the counselors who had voted to deny Naruto his heritage had discovered that almost none of the village's ninja would take missions for them anymore, and the missions that were taken invariably ended up failing in a very expensive way, usually one that was humiliating to the counselor or their family. Already, several counselors had resigned and fled Konoha with their families. The message to the other counselors from the ninja was clear: mess with one of ours and you will live to regret it. Unfortunately, since the council's decision had been countersigned by the daimyo, Hiruzen couldn't reverse it even after the counselors had fled. On the plus side, Naruto had gained a few pets and was trying to train them. The Inuzuka had their ninken, Naruto was trying to train the giant white tigers. Much to his shock, they had learned from him how to tree walk and water walk. He hadn't actually been trying to teach them that at the time and was now somewhat leery of using jutsu around them just in case they managed to copy it. They were definitely far more intelligent than anyone had given them credit for. Plus, they were so much fun to wrestle with. While he still had to hold back, he could work up a sweat against them. And that wraps up this lesson, Irika said, glancing at Shikamaru, who was half asleep on his desk, and Naruto, who was glaring out of the window. The test is on Monday, so all of you are reminded to show up on time. Naruto snorted and Irika sighed. All except Naruto, who is being taken on as an apprentice and as such will be given a conditional pass anyway. He said resignedly. Sensei, did the exam requirements change since last year? Sakura asked, giving Naruto a slightly scared look. She still remembered the time that she had mentioned the council's decision about Naruto's family status as relayed to her by her mother, and Naruto had proceeded to smash a boulder into gravel with repeated punches, threatening to do the same to her and her mother should Sakura ever bring up that subject again. Sakura had believed him, and had warned her mother that it would be unwise to make any other move against Naruto, and that she would rather not be on the same team as him. There has been no change since last year, Iruka confirmed, giving Naruto a concerned glance. Naruto shrugged. The civilian council don't want to let me become a ninja, he said harshly. They've already stolen my family and my money. They want to steal my dreams as well. That's why they insist on a normal bunshin. They know I'm too damned powerful to do one. Sakura looked away guiltily as Iruka nodded with an expression of pained agreement. Naruto stood up and slid the window open. I'll be back for the team assignments, but right now, I need to find one of my cats and get some fuss therapy and relaxation. Everyone blinked a few times, then Hinata spoke up. Did anyone else know that he has a cat? I didn't. Kakashi stared in shock at the sight before him. Iruka had told him that Naruto had skipped lessons again, so he had used his skill as a tracker and followed his ward into the forest of death. Given Naruto's insane strength and skills, which were, as Kakashi admitted to himself, pretty close to Jonin level, he didn't think that much in the forest would be a danger. He had not been prepared for what he had found. In a clearing, Naruto was relaxing, leaning against one of the giant tigers of the forest. That in itself would have been enough to stop most ninja in their tracks. But there were over a dozen adult tigers surrounding Naruto and his purring backrest and several kittens, for lack of a better term. And Naruto had one of the kittens in his lap, purring happily as he stroked it, as the mother watched placidly. As if that wasn't enough, one of the tigers that was moving round had walked across the stream. Not through it, across it. The damn things knew how to use chakra. And Naruto was petting one of them. No, two of them now. Kakashi idly wondered if he would survive the test that he had been planning to give Naruto and the other two on the team he was being assigned. All right, class, when I call your name, come through for the final part of the test, Iruka said. Aburame Shino, you're first. The bug user rose from his seat and followed Iruka into the testing room. The others watched him go, then Sakura spoke up. I'm not sure I should try to pass. I might end up on Naruto's team, and after what my mother did to him, I'm not sure I'd survive. Hiba snorted. I wouldn't worry so much. He holds grudges, but only against those who actually set out to hurt him. You're safe. Your mom, not so much. Sakura winced and Hinata glared at Kiba. Stop worrying her like that. Sakura, just ignore him and stop worrying. And Naruto isn't here today, so just do your best. Akamichi Choji. The large boy swallowed as he left the room, passing Shino, who was wearing a Hitai 8. You passed, well done, Shino, Hinata said. Shino inclined his head in acknowledgement, then moved to the corner of the room. Are you bloody nuts? Kakashi half yelled, glaring at Hamura. You know the rules, I can only have one apprentice and I already have one. I can't have the Uchiha assigned to me as my apprentice. The council has decided otherwise, Hamura said, trying not to sweat under the killing intent that Kakashi was leaking despite his self-control. As the only other Sharingan wielder in Konoha, you are vital to the development of the Uchiha and the eventual reestablishment of his clan. Therefore, Uchiha Sasuke is your new apprentice, irrespective of him passing the second genin test. And Naruto? Kakashi ground out through clenched teeth. As he did not show up at the test last week, he has been marked as having failed. Furthermore, his absence and previous failure means that he will not be allowed to retake his test. Kakashi closed his eyes as he concentrated on not cutting the throat of the elder in front of him. His muscles tensed for a few minutes, then he opened his eye again. You have just made a big mistake, he said quietly. Deny him the right to be a ninja and he will have no reason to stay. If he leaves, he will be charged with treason. Hamura half-whispered and Kakashi laughed sarcastically. You declared that he has failed, that makes him a civilian and thus he can leave whenever he wishes. The council declared him to be clanless, so you cannot use the clan laws to keep him here. And should you try to use force to restrain him, I have seen him at full strength. Even Madogai is not willing to go against him when he gets angry, and what you have just done, I have taught him. He is at least upper Chunin level, possibly Jonin, and that's before he gets experience. Hamura stared at him, going white as Kakashi continued. You have 2 days before Naruto is meant to meet me for his first official genin meeting. 2 days before I have no choice but to tell him that the council has screwed him over again. Oh, did I mention that I recently taught him the Rasengan? At the time, he was still his father's son, and thus it was his heritage. Or that he can create over 1,000 Kage Bunshin. I leave you to combine those two facts. Oh, one more thing you might find interesting. You know those giant tigers in the Forest of Death? Seems he's tamed them to his will, and they can use chakra. Puts the Inuzuka in the shade, doesn't it? I wonder which village will want him and his pets to start a new clan for them. Kumo, perhaps. Kakashi stormed out of the room, leaving a shocked elder who was frantically trying to come up with a way of staving off the destruction that was looming. Danzo, what the hell did you think you were doing? This plan you came up with to claim him as a weapon for Konoha? You've doomed us all. You're shitting me, right? Not at all. Hiruzen smiled. The council pushed for and signed off on your promotion to full Jonin 10 minutes ago. Anko stared at the old man in near shock. But my past, who I was trained by, and all of a sudden they pull a turnaround and push for my promotion rather than try to have me removed from the shinobi lists? What the hell happened? It's actually quite amusing, Sarutobi said, a wide grin on his face. The civilian council decided to try and undermine me, but realized too late that on this occasion I wasn't the one they should be scared of. When they realized how badly they had erred, they came to me begging for me to solve their problems for them. I managed to really put the screws on them, and your promotion was one of the results. Enko grinned ferally. Nice, so what's the catch? Well, Hiruzen said, you get an apprentice. He's already been trained somewhat by Kakashi and Guy, so… Wait, Enko interrupted, her grin widening. I get promoted to Jonin and get the Gaki that everyone knows is the Yandame's son, despite what the council claims. Sweet. When do I meet him? Old man, tell me why I shouldn't rip the bloody council to shreds. Enko spun round and stared in shock. The reason for her surprise was not that Naruto had slammed through the doors, but that a pair of giant white tigers were behind him, rumbling with displeasure. Anko, meet Naruto, your apprentice in assassination and sabotage. Naruto, this is Jonin Mitarashi Anko, your new sensei. Naruto froze, then looked at Anko, a grin forming on his face. Assassination? Sabotage? Cool. Thanks, Gigi. Oh, while I'm here, can I ask for a favor? It's about my name. So, Gaki, tell me about yourself and your pets? Naruto grinned down at Anko from his perch on the back of one of the tigers as they moved away from the Hokage Tower down the rapidly emptying road. My name's Naruto. I was Uzumaki Naruto, then Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, but now I'm Kagetora Naruto, first of my clan and friend of the tigers. I'm the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune and have a Kekkai Genkai that gives me totally awesome strength and speed. I train with Team 9, know almost 100 jutsu and can use 3 taijutsu styles. My jinjitsu skills suck, but Kurinai-sensei taught me a way to disrupt jinjitsu. I use shuriken and kunai and can throw them through rocks and boulders. I don't have a close-in weapon, but I haven't needed one yet. I'm studying up on seals and can already do storage seals and explosive tags, which I sell to Tenten's dad. I live in an old bunker. Kakashi-sensei and Guy-sensei live there too. Gigi said he meant it to be temporary until I got my dad's house, but it burned down before I could. Then the council fucked things up, so he made it so the bunker's in my name. Anko nodded. I heard Guy talking about that bunker. You really let him train his team there? Naruto shrugged. Sure. I helped Guy set up 2 of the barracks as guest areas for overnight guests, and his team occasionally crashes there after one of his long training days. Do you have any spare rooms? Anko asked and Naruto nodded. Yep. 3 observation rooms, 2 barracks, a half-dozen storage rooms, even a cavern with a lake. Why? Anko shrugged. My landlord doesn't like me and he's hiked my rent again. I was thinking. Sure, Naruto said. Just let me handle the introductions. The tigers don't like it when people they don't know come. Anko halted in her tracks. Wait, the tigers live with you? I thought they lived in training area 44? Yep, but they were losing too many cubs to the spiders. And those spiders are nasty, Naruto said. They asked if I had a place they could be, and since the bunker's in a wooded area, I said yes. Gigi's let me have all the woods around the bunker and it's really near the gate, so the tigers can go out to hunt whenever they want. How many tigers? Anko asked in a faint voice. Naruto frowned. I think about 150. More if you include the cubs. Is it important? Anko's eyes lit up. Important? You have 150 furry killing machines as your pets and you think it isn't important? That's one of the coolest things I've ever come across. This is amazing. Does the Hokage know about the tigers? Naruto shrugged again. I think so. I asked if I could keep some cats, he said yes. Enko smirked. Kid, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Wait, the cats asked. And in addition to Emo Duckbutt and Pink Banshee, I got this ink-using pale kid who keeps going on about male genitalia, of all things. Kakashi groused to a grinning guy as Naruto and Enko entered the main hall. I'm telling you, I'd have handed my Hittite back to the Hokage, had he not told me that he's managed to get Naruto enlisted as the apprentice and sole genin of another jonin. Naruto, you're back. Enko, what are you doing here? I'm Gaki's teacher. Enko grinned. Jonin Mitarashi Enko, heh, I'll never get tired of saying that. And my apprentice Kagetora Naruto. Hey, Gaki. Introduce me to these kitties of yours, so that I don't have to turn them into rugs for attacking me. Sure thing. Guys, this is my new teacher, Enko. Gigi found her and she's gonna teach me loads. If you watch, you can learn too. Enko glanced around, then something made her look up. Her eyes widened as she saw a dozen giant tigers looking down at her. From the ceiling, Naruto followed her gaze. I wouldn't worry, they won't fall on you. They're just practicing. They can use chakra? Welcome to Higarashi's weapons. Naruto. Hi, Tenten. Naruto called. Enko-sensei, this is Tenten. She's one of Gai-sensei's students. Tenchan. This is Mitarashi Enko, my Jonin-sensei. Enko nodded, then looked round. This will take a while. What will? Enko wants me to have a close-range weapon. Naruto said. I want a naginata. No, Tenten said firmly. A naginata wouldn't work for you, you'd probably snap it in the middle of battle. Enko laughed as Naruto sulked. You've probably got a better chance of finding something for Gaki here, so I'll leave you two to it. I hear Dango calling me. Gaki, find me after you've got a weapon that works for you. Tenten and Naruto watched her leave, then swapped glances. Let me get my dad in. Then we go to the storehouse and see what might work. Naruto gazed round at the vast collection with a sense of mounting awe. Looking round, he moved towards a rack of swords, only for Tenten to grab him by the shoulder. No. But I want a sword. Swords are cool. No, Tenten said firmly. A sword wouldn't work for you, you're too strong for a sword. You'd break them. Any sword strong enough to withstand being used by you would have to be custom-made and very heavy, and I need to talk to Enko. Let's go. Naruto couldn't understand how, despite his awesome strength, Tenten was able to tow him out of the shop without any apparent effort. Welcome back. Come in. It's ready. Sorry it took so long to make. Naruto almost bounced through the door, Enko following at a slower pace as she finished her dango. This way, Dad made it specially. He used Thunderbolt Iron to make it for extra strength and chakra metal so that you could use your elemental wind chakra. It's perfect for you. Did the payment cover it all? Enko asked and Tenten nodded. Yep, just. Anyway, it's through here. We made a sheath for it with a reinforced strap, but you'll have to practice drawing it. What do you think? Enko stared in shock at the weapon in front of her. It was metal, it had a handle, but it was... What is that? Tenten grinned at Enko's shocked question. This is the strongest sword in the world. The handle is reinforced with ninja wire along it for grip and to stop it breaking in combat. The blade is thicker than a normal sword with a modified wedge cross-section and a reinforced tip, allowing you to hit harder with it, and if you place it against something and hit the back, it'll allow you to break through almost anything. The blade isn't very sharp under normal circumstances, but if you channel wind chakra through, the result is an edge that can cut anything except another chakra blade. Enko reached down and grabbed the handle. Channeling chakra to her muscles, she tried to lift it. Damn, it's heavy. I can barely move it. Tenten nodded and waved for Naruto to try. He grabbed it and lifted it one-handed, causing Enko's eyes to widen in shock. This is really cool. Can I try it out? There's a practice yard out the back. Naruto bounced out into the yard, the weight of the sword not slowing him down in the slightest, and Enko scrambled after him, hearing Tenten laughing behind her. She got through the door just in time to see Naruto raise the sword almost lazily above a giant boulder, then bring it down almost gently. The boulder shattered. Wow, Anko whispered as Naruto examined the blade. Not a single chip. I like it. Anko stood motionless as Naruto bounced back inside. After a few minutes, her mind restarted and she found herself staring at a worried Tenten. Are you all right? That is not a sword, Anko stated in a shocked voice. That is a metal tetsubo with an edge. Tenten laughed. Yep, pretty much. But it works. Anko stared at the younger girl. Do you have any idea how much damage he could do with that thing? He could take down a freaking castle wall with a single... Oh, Kami, this'll be great. Hey, Naruto, Tenten shouted. What are you going to call that? The Kitsune's claw? Yep, Naruto said between mouthfuls of ramen. My dagger's called the Kitsune's fang, and my sword is bigger, so Kitsune's claw. I like it, Kyubi said. And if you want, I can push some yukai into it to make it even stronger. Maybe even give it a special ability or two. At the very least, an internal summoning seal so you can call it into your hand without having to worry about unsheathing it. Really? Thanks. Naruto replied silently. Not a bad name, Gaki, Anko said after a moment's thought. And to anyone from Konoha, at least, it's a very scary name. Can't wait to use it on a mission. Naruto smirked. A proper mission, not another D-rank. Hey, don't diss the D-ranks, Anko smirked. I thought you loved them, snatching Tora before the other teams could grab her, ambushing them on their grocery shopping, switching out the paint and seeing how long it takes for them to notice the fence is the wrong color. All good practice for when we hit the field. At least you got permission from the other Jonin senseis first. Naruto laughed. I still remember Niji's face when he realized that he was pulling a stuffed toy along instead of the dog he'd started out with. So much for the all-seeing Byakugan, Anko chuckled. How you pulled off the trick the second time, I still don't know. His scream when he saw one of your tigers with the leash going into its mouth. Who knew he could sound so girly? Kaze found it very amusing. Naruto snickered. So did I, and Gai-sensei. It is fated that you shall not succeed in doing that again. Eek, Anko quoted with a laugh. From behind them, Kaze gave a rumbling purr and Anko reached back and quickly scratched him between his ears. Still amazes me how you understand them so well, Anko admitted with a smirk. It's like watching an Inuzuka pair, only they're bigger. I can't help thinking I'd look even more awesome in samurai armor when riding one of them, Naruto admitted. Probably just my imagination. I mean, plate armor wouldn't last long on me, but damn, it would look cool. Anko nodded as she shared his mental image. Then she turned to look at her student. Gaki, you've been doing great so far. Your taijutsu is excellent, your ninjutsu way more advanced than it should be. Heck, you're pretty much at special jonin level as is, and we haven't even had an out-of-village mission yet. My eternal friend and rival, I have returned from my most youthful mission and am overjoyed to see you. Naruto spun round, his face lighting up as he searched for the source of the familiar voice. Lee Senpai, your flames of youth bring light to Konoha now you've returned. Anko froze in shock. This was a side to Naruto that she had never seen before, yet something told her that it was as genuine as the side she had seen up until now. I heard about the most unyouthful decision of the council, denying Kakashi-sensei the right to take you as an apprentice, but I see you have a Hitai 8, so you can still show your youthful passions in becoming a ninja. May I ask who your sensei is? And where are your teammates? I am the sole genin assigned as apprentice to the most youthful yet very scary Jonin Mitarashi Anko, who is seated just here, Naruto said. Anko gave a slight wave, her gaze transfixed on Lee's eyebrows. Lee grinned at her, his teeth sparkling. I am heading out to train. My flames of youth are reaching previously unimagined heights, Lee proclaimed. I am very glad that you have become a true ninja, as I always believed you would be. Thanks, Lee-senpai. Naruto and Ai-chan. Lee-senpai. Naruto and Ai-chan. Lee-senpai. To Anko's horror, her student and guys embraced. To the background of crashing waves as the sun set behind their display of youthfulness. For almost a minute, Anko remained frozen in shock. Then she twitched a few times before exhaling sharply. Ensai? Anko-sensei, are you all right? Anko took several deep breaths. How did you two do that? That was the unbreakable sunset genjutsu. Only guy can do that. Naruto scratched the back of his head, looking embarrassed. Lee and Guy perform it so often that Lee knows what it feels like, but can't do it on his own because of his chakra problem. So when we do it, I kind of push my chakra through his chakra coils and he shapes it into the sunset jinjitsu. The first time we used it on Guy, he was weeping with joy for an hour over how we had proven we were capable of mastering our youthful flames, or something like that. Anko stared at her student in shock. What he and Lee had done was impossible. By any rational type of logic, it just could not be done that way. But it had. I think that I need to talk to Guy, Anko muttered. She could feel a headache coming on. The sunset jinjitsu faded away and Guy's expression was a complex mix of pride, astonishment, and total confusion. You are right, Anko-san. Now that you mention it, that should not be possible. What do you mean? Naruto asked, perplexed. Lee can't use his chakra, so he uses mine instead. How is that so strange? Because Lee Kuin's coils prevent him from using chakra at all. They are deformed, so chakra cannot pass through them. For him to be able to guide and shape your chakra like that, his coils would have to. Niji, use your eyes on Lee now. Niji backed away from his sparring with Tenten and jogged over. Standing by Guy, he activated his Byakugan and gasped in shock. What do you see? Lee's coils. They're not as twisted as they were. He's got chakra flowing. How much chakra? Anko demanded and Niji shook his head in disbelief. At the moment, about as much as an academy student, he said slowly. But his coils, they look as if they are becoming less tangled? I don't understand. How is this possible? Anko and Guy looked at each other and then, in perfect unison, turned to look at Naruto, who grinned nervously. Give me a moment to think, he said. Kyubi-san, are you there? And where else would I be, Kit? Kyubi responded sarcastically. Before you ask, I have a theory. Your chakra is tinged with my yukai, even after filtering through the seal. Yukai normally has a bad effect on chakra coils, weakening them, so since Lee was born with overly rigid tenketsu, thus preventing the flow of chakra through them. Then weakening the coils makes them more flexible and allows chakra to flow properly. Naruto mentally exclaimed. Kyubi-sama, you are a genius. One tries. Naruto reopened his eyes and looked round. I think it's to do with my special chakra. If I remember correctly, Lee's tenketsu were too rigid. My chakra probably loosened them a bit. I guess this means Lee, and I need to stop doing that jinjitsu. We don't want to risk ruining his newfound chakra abilities. Uff. Lee hugged Naruto as hard as he could, then released him and held him at arm's length. Naruto-kun, your flames of youthfulness have given me the chance to raise my youthfulness to a new level. Thank you. Thank you. Before Naruto could respond, he found himself in an even tighter hug, this one courtesy of Guy. Naruto-kun, you have reignited my student's potential, bringing his flames of youth to a veritable conflagration. Lee-kun, I can now teach you the henge, kawarimi, bunshin, and how to tree and water walk, increasing the youthfulness of your skills. And at last, I can let you sign the turtle contract. Naruto-kun, I can never repay you for what you have done. If you wish, I shall even instruct you in the Goken. Guy, Lee, air. Both Guy and Lee released Naruto and he dropped to the ground, gasping for breath. After a few minutes, he stood up and shook his head. Guy-sensei, the Goken is your style, yours and Lee's. I would not take that away from you. But Lee, I think that this is worth at least 2 victories in our competitions, don't you? Yash, I can learn at least 6 new techniques all because of you, so I concede 6 victories, meaning that you are at 794 wins to my 790. Rest assured, I shall catch up. Naruto grinned widely. I look forwards to your next challenge, Lee-senpai. Yo, Gaki, Anko shouted. Get your shit together and get ready. We have a mission. A cry of really? Echoed and Naruto leaped out of the lower stairwell, a wide grin on his face. A mission, really? Yep, Anko said, opening the cupboard that she had placed by the main door and pulling out her pre-packed mission pack. Kakashi wants your help. Seems the C rank he and his team took is actually an A rank. Bring your sword. Naruto held out both hands and Anko's eyes widened as his dagger appeared in his left hand and his sword appeared in his right. Naruto placed the dagger along his left thigh and his sword to his back, both of the blades adhering without any visible sign of support. That's a good trick, Gaki. Enko said slowly. Okay, we're heading for wave. Any last-minute thoughts before we go? Naruto grinned, then unleashed a high-pitched whistle. Enko grinned widely. Oh, Gaki, she said almost reverently. If only we'd met sooner. Copycat Kakashi, the man who knows 1,000 jutsu, the masked figure standing on the embedded sword stated. Kakashi glared up at his newest adversary. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the bloody mist and master of the silent killing technique. He responded. I assume that you are here for a reason? I'm here to kill that old man, Tazuna, Zabuza stated. You may be able to slow me down, but those 3 brats of yours are good as dead already. Kakashi frowned and slowly pulled out his kunai as Zabuza leapt off his perch and pulled the sword out of the tree. A moment later, a thick mist rose, cutting every Oni vision to less than arm's length, and Zabuza's voice echoed menacingly. 8 choices: liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, jugular vein, brain, kidneys, heart. Which one should I go after? Sakura gulped nervously, trying to see through the fog. Sasuke wiped the sweat off his forehead and Sai unsheathed his tanto. Where is he? Sakura whispered. I wouldn't worry about him, Anko said, causing both Sasuke and Sakura to scream with shock while Sai inhaled sharply. Anko-san? Where the hell did you come from? Sakura gasped, hands pressed to her chest as she tried to stop hyperventilating. Just got here. Anko smirked, finishing off her dango and hurling the stick into the mist. A second later, there was a faint ting as it bounced off something metal. Came with some serious reinforcements. Yo, Kaze, time to live up to your name. There was a breathless silence and Anko clasped her hands over her ears, nodding for them to do the same. An instant later, the air seemed to tremble. Then a massive roar sounded, the blast of air accompanying it blasting the mist away as a harsh clang announced that 2 swords had met. Zabuza stared in shock at the young blonde who had effortlessly blocked his killing stroke. Naruto, Kakashi said in a relieved voice as he lowered his Hitai-8 back over his Sharingan. You'll want to be careful. Zabuza is a Kenjutsu master. Like Gunma-san. I got it, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto grinned. Okay, browless, let's dance. Zabuza tried to push Naruto's sword away, but his answer was a sudden thrust that launched him backwards. Kakashi ambled back to his team as Naruto and Zabuza slashed at each other. Shouldn't you be doing something to help him? Kakashi asked curiously. Enko shook her head. Nah, Gaki learns best by doing. Going up against Zabuza, that's like a week's intensive Kenjutsu training in less than an hour. Besides, he's got his clones watching from all around like that squirrel there. He's learning Zabuza's style. Zabuza blurred past, chasing Naruto who slashed a pair of trees, causing them to fall inwards and forcing Zabuza to slow down as he cut his way through them. He's good at using the environment in his favor, Kakashi noted. How did you get here so fast? His cats gave us a lift, Anko said almost absently as she pulled out another stick of dango. Kaze got rid of the mist, and they're waiting over there. Naruto charged by, slashing at a frantically evading Zabuza. That Kekkai Genkai of his never ceases to amaze me, Kakashi noted. His stamina is unreal. Hey, Zabuza, Naruto doesn't tire easily. He can fight for a full day before slowing. I didn't need to know that. Zabuza roared back as Naruto's attacks sent him skidding across the surface of the lake. How the hell is this brat so strong? Whoa! Blood limit, super strength, Enko called back. So, Kakashi, these your brats you were complaining about? Emo duck butt, pink banshee and inky idiot. Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura and Sai respectively, yes, Kakashi replied, ignoring the killing glares that 2 of his team were directing at Enko. They're my, wow, nice move Naruto-kun. Naruto-kun, Sasuke grumbled. How does that dope deserve being called kun? I don't see you defeating Zabuza, Kakashi replied and Sasuke glared at him, then gave Sakura a confused look as she remained silent rather than speaking up in his favor. Sakura was staring at Naruto with a terrified expression as Naruto managed to block every one of Zabuza's attacks. Think we should step in yet? Enko asked and Kakashi shook his head. Not unless Zabuza tries anything other than Kenjutsu, he said. You said it yourself, this fight is a real learning experience for Naruto. I hope you three are paying attention. Kakashi ducked as Zabuza was sent flying overhead, smashing through a tree. Naruto punched the falling tree out of the way and quickly blocked Zabuza's attack as he flew through the air in a prodigious leap, but Zabuza swung his sword and hurled him through another tree. Zabuza paused, breathing deeply and looking at Naruto with a confused expression. That is not a normal sword, kid, he said slowly. Twice I've knocked it out of your hands, and each time you summoned it back. How? Kakashi glanced at Anko, who shrugged. I'm awesome that way. Naruto grinned, rising to his feet and spinning his sword one-handed before settling into the same stance that Zabuza had used at the start of the fight. You have one hell of a healing factor too, Zabuza mused as the cut on Naruto's arm finished closing. Who are you? Kagetora Naruto, came the reply. First of my line and soon-to-be clan head. First of your line? Zabuza echoed. Who were your parents? Naruto snarled. Legally, I never had parents. Orphan at birth. No mother, no father. Pretty much everyone in Konoha knows who they were, but due to the damned council and the bastard who raided a certain house, I am legally clanless. Sakura gulped and moved behind Sasuke. Tough break, kid, Zabuza said, lowering his sword slightly. Once all this is over, how about I take you on as an apprentice? Your style stinks, but your reflexes are amazing. Naruto grinned. Sorry, but me and my senseis have other plans. Care to surrender now? Or will you try your luck against a supercharged genin and a pair of jonin? Before Zabuza could answer, a pair of senbon seemed to sprout from his neck, causing him to collapse bonelessly. A masked figure dropped down beside him. I thank you for distracting him long enough for me to get into position, the figure said. Now I must dispose of the body. The figure vanished along with Zabuza's corpse and Kakashi turned back towards his team before he noted Naruto sniffing suspiciously at the spot where Zabuza had collapsed. What is that dope doing? Sasuke half asked, half sneered. Sakura stifled a scream as a giant white and black shape seemed to materialize out of the woods and join the blonde. The boy and the cat continued sniffing at the area for a few more seconds. Then the Naruto whispered something and the cat shook its head. Sensei, Zabuza's not dead. There's no death scent. What? Kakashi half shouted. But we saw the senbon hit, oh damn. False death state. Anko groaned, slapping herself on her forehead. How the hell did we both miss that? Kami, we'll never live that down. Excuse me, but what is it? Sakura asked, keeping both Anko and Kakashi between herself and the irritated Naruto. Zabuza's still alive. Kakashi sighed. The hunter Nin was obviously his assistant and used senbon to send him into a false death state before fleeing with him. We've been duped. The only good point is that it'll take at least a week for him to recover, so we have some time to train you three up. Tazuna, I think we should get going. More giant tigers seemed to materialize out of the trees as Naruto leapt onto the back of the first one. Climb on. They'll carry us the rest of the way. We'll get there faster. Sasuke glared at Anko. Emo duckbutt? Naruto was impressed. Most people, upon opening their front door and seeing a half-dozen-plus giant tigers, would have screamed, slammed the door shut and piled up the furniture while swearing in panic. Tsunami had merely blinked a few times, then inquired politely if it was possible for the tigers to remain outside, since she was unsure if they were housebroken, and she didn't know if the floor was strong enough to support them. Anko and Kakashi found it hilarious, especially when all the tigers, after a quick series of growls, snarls, yelps and purrs, all nodded and settled down in front of the house. Once inside, Kakashi glanced over at his students. Sensei, Sakura said carefully, what do we do? Will Zabuza return? Probably, but not for at least a week, Anko said, pulling out a small scroll and unsealing a plate of dango. Tossing a stick to Naruto, she bit into her dango with a sigh of pleasure. Going into a scrumph, false death state screws the body up. It'll be a week at least before he's back to battle ready. Gives us time to get you brats to a level that'll give you a chance of living through this. Anko's right, Kakashi said. For the next week you are going to get trained. Basic chakra control and taijutsu practice. We'll start with tree walking tomorrow. What? Anko half shouted. You went on a C rank without even teaching them the basics? I was trying to hammer teamwork into them, Kakashi protested, much to Naruto's amusement. The emo is insistent that the others will slow him down and he can do better alone. The Pinky is a total fangirl and is thus currently totally useless, and Inky is so maladjusted that I'm amazed he's survived this long. If it hadn't been for the damned council forcing me to pass them and not do anything they consider harsh, they would have failed and been chucked out of the academy. Naruto burst into howls of laughter and Kakashi paled as he realized that his 3 genin were staring at him, 2 of them with betrayed expressions. Enko smirked. I made no promises, so how about this? You and Naruto go and find where this Gato that Tazuna mentioned has his headquarters. I'll drill the terrible trio in the basics. Sasuke and Sakura looked at Enko's feral grin and both shuddered. Kakashi placed his chin on his hand. Try not to hurt them too much. I need them to still be mobile in a week. Enko pouted, then slapped Naruto's head. Calm down, Gaki. It's not their fault that they're so pathetic. You know how most of the academy teachers were trying to screw up your education, these 3? Well, Pinky and Emo just got caught in the splash. Since Pinky is from a civilian family and Emo decided to refuse any external help in favor of training badly by himself, neither of them could compensate. How Emo got the Rookie of the Year award, I don't know. Probably council interference. So, you and Kakashi and your tigers go searching for Gato and find out what he's planning. Rich scum like him are always seeking ways of spending less. It wouldn't surprise me if he's planning on backstabbing Zabuza. Probably something like hiring a load of thugs and sending them to kill Zabuza after he's worn himself out trying to take us down. Naruto nodded slowly. That's dirty, underhanded, devious. From what I've heard about Gato, I'd agree. Then it's agreed. Kakashi said brightly. Tomorrow, you and I will set off to see if we can find Gato's headquarters while Anko trains my students in my absence. With my skills and your clones, we should be able to cover quite a bit of ground. Why did you suddenly look guilty when I mentioned clones? Kaze and I were experimenting with what we could do, Naruto muttered. I think that the tigers may have learned the Kage Bunshin. On the plus side, if I do a henge after linking my chakra to Kaze's, I turn into a tiger too. I think I need to see what you've been getting up to, Kakashi said after a long silence. On the plus side, what you've done may count as clan techniques, so you don't need to worry about teaching them to anyone for some time. Can the tigers turn into humans? Naruto shook his head. Nah, they're happy as they are. They don't see human form as being anywhere near as perfect as they are, and I guess they do have a bit of a point. Enko laughed out loud as Kakashi smiled behind his mask. All right, maggots. Time to start your training, Enko yelled as she hurled a bucketful of water over the sleeping genin. All 3 almost catapulted themselves out of their blankets as the icy cold water sluiced down on them, shocking them from their slumber. As all 3 scrambled upright, Enko put the bucket down. All right, listen up, scumbags. Kakashi's gone and left you 3 in my tender hands, and because of certain considerations, he hasn't been able to teach you like he wanted to. That means that I'm going to hammer what you need to learn into you. You will hate me, you will curse me, you will come to know me as the most sadistic bitch in the world, and I will lap up every second of your suffering and cause you to suffer more. Now get outside. It's time for early morning calisthenics, and the one who does worst gets to be my new Senbon target. Move. Enko stepped back, raising her kunai so that she could lick its edge, but the trio had already fled. With a grin guaranteed to give nightmares to anyone who saw it, she ambled after them. All right, you scumbags, Enko growled as she prowled around the 3 genin, 2 of whom were almost paralyzed with fear and the 3rd obviously disturbed by her actions. Kakashi told me what he was doing, and you 3 are the worst possible excuse for a team I've ever seen. He's tried to get you to learn teamwork and failed big time, so since the gentle approach has failed, and since the council is preventing him from using harsher methods himself, he's left you to me. And I was trained by the biggest, most sadistic bastard ever, and now I get to do it to you. Sakura gulped and Anko's grin somehow became even more cruel as she strode over to a nearby tree and walked up its trunk, pausing briefly before walking back down. That was the tree climbing exercise. You do it by channeling chakra to your feet. Too much, you get blasted off. Too little, you slip down. You will start now, and if I think you are giving it less than your all. The 3 genin watched with wide eyes as Anko threw a kunai that sliced through an arm-sized branch, causing it to fall to the ground. What the fuck are you 3 waiting for? The trees are there, move. They moved. A small noise alerted Anko to the fact that she wasn't the only one outside the house, and she turned to see Tsunami looking at her worriedly. Aren't you being a little harsh on them? Anko sighed and dropped her normal psychotic persona act. Better that I'm harsh to them now and they learn what they need to, rather than going soft on them like the civilian council wants and letting them all get killed because they've overestimated their skills and decided to fight rather than retreat. We're ninja, soldiers of Konoha. There are so many things that can kill a ninja, or end a ninja's career that it isn't even funny, and it's worse for Kunoichi. These three need to learn that they aren't Kami's gift to the world, that they can be hurt, injured, and possibly killed no matter what they do. They need to find their limits so that they can work out how to improve them or work around them. If I don't push them now, force them to get stronger and more resilient, then when they face an enemy, they'll just break. Tsunami looked rather disturbed, but she nodded slowly. I think I see. How much training will you give them? Anko snorted. As much as they can take, then a little bit more to force them to improve. You don't know how bad they are, how the civilian council screwed with the academy to try and make it easier to pass. Their class, only 9 passed the final tests, the ones set by ninja rather than civilians. 9 out of over 36. And all but 1 were from a clan, even if Gaki's been denied his. Gaki? Naruto. Anko sighed. Pretty much everyone knows about his burden, although most blame him for it even though it wasn't his fault. And the civilian council declared that the man everyone knew was his father, was proven to be his father by blood testing, was no relation to him at all. Apparently they were trying to snag him for a private shinobi group that answers to the council, but they misjudged what their actions would do and realized too late that by cutting his links, he had no reason to stay and was too powerful for them to prevent leaving. Wish I'd been there to see the look on their faces, especially since the old man would have defended Naruto's right to leave. Anyway, Naruto's the shinobi's shinobi, trained by the best ninjutsu master and the best taijutsu master of Konoha, with lessons from several others, and enough strength to throw a tree like a kunai. That sword of his? Solid metal, heavier than steel, yet he waves it around like it was paper. He's a one-man army. These 3, they're still not even recruits. Excuse me. Tsunami watched as Anko strode off, yelling at the trio of genin. Oh Kami, that woman's a monster. Sasuke groaned as he slumped down at the table and started to devour the plate of food in front of him. She's Naruto's sensei. Sakura shivered and Sasuke looked at her strangely. Why are you so fixated on that dope? My mother was one of those who voted for his heritage to be stripped from him. Sakura whimpered. I'm scared he may decide to make me have a training accident and it scares me when he's near. The council decided that despite all evidence to the contrary, Naruto was not the son of the Yondaime Hokage and the red-hot habanero. Sai said tiredly from where he was sitting, having just finished his food. He has since, with the help of the Hokage, declared that he is the founder of a new clan, the Shadows of the Tiger, and claimed the Rasengan as his clan jutsu. Until recently, he has been working on adding an elemental component to it. And how do you know that? Sasuke asked as Sakura hunched in on herself. I deployed some ink mice to watch him, Sai said with a slight shrug. I felt it was best to keep an eye on Dickless. Sakura froze. Hold on, you call me ugly? And Sasuke smiles. So if you call Naruto, how big is he? Sai held his hands up and Sakura's eyes almost bulged out of their sockets. No way, he's that big. Wait, Hinata, Byakugan. Sees through things. Oh Kami. That's why she went after him. Actually, she fell in love with him before she had learned how to use the Byakugan, a scarily familiar voice said from behind them. I've managed to talk to her when she was watching Naruto train, and it was his refusal to quit that got her attention. I wonder if Kakashi's told the idiot about how Hinata feels about him. Those two could make a great pair. The 3 genin sat in shocked silence for a moment. Then an evil chuckle caused them to tense. Of course, if you've got enough energy to gossip, you have enough to train. Back to the trees. Now! With a yelp of fear, Sakura catapulted herself away from the table and scrambled through the door, Sasuke and Sai behind her. Anko smirked and concentrated for a moment, producing a Kage Bunshin and sending it outside before turning to the stairs. You may as well come out, kid. I know you're there. There was a deep silence from the top of the stairs. Come on down. I won't hurt you, and I think you need to talk. For another minute, nothing happened. Then the figure at the top of the staircase slowly descended. Inari, right? Anko asked. We didn't really get to introduce ourselves. I'm Anko. You look like you've been through some rough times. What do you know about it? Inari grumbled and Anko laughed, earning a shocked glance. About your situation? Nothing except what your mother told me. But I know all about rough times. Sit. It's time for you to learn. Inari sullenly sat down. I know all about suffering. When I was young, I was the student of Orochimaru, one of the Sannin, the 3 strongest ninja in Konoha. I, a simple orphan, was his apprentice, learning from him jutsu and fighting styles. But I was young and naive. I didn't know just how twisted and cruel he was, but when his experiments on kidnapped orphans were discovered, experiments which were almost always lethal, he fled. And like a good little apprentice, I went with him. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made. He had no one else to experiment on, so he experimented on me. Poisons, jutsu. I still have the damned curse seal that he placed on me. Just here. It means that if I try to use too much chakra, it reacts and causes incredible pain, and Orochi team can trigger the damn thing whenever he wants. Eventually, he abandoned me. I wasn't evil enough for him, so he threw me away like a piece of trash. I managed to get back to Konoha, where almost everyone treated me like shit for having been taught by that bastard. I had no family and, at first, no friends. Eventually, a chunin named Kurenai managed to become my first true friend, and through her, I met several others. I hold them close to me and they helped me to get past what that bastard did. Anko paused and saw Inari's expression. My story's bad, but Naruto's? His is worse. On the day he was born, a monster attacked Konoha. Only the chakra of a newborn could be used to defeat the monster. But the villagers didn't understand what had happened, and instead of seeing Naruto as a hero, they saw him as the monster reborn. The fact that both his parents were killed in the attack didn't help. When he was only 4, he was thrown out of the orphanage. Not that it had made much difference, they were too scared to actually hurt him, but what they did was worse. They ignored him and locked him in an empty room for the slightest reason. By the time he was thrown out, he was malnourished and had learned less than children half his age, because no one wanted to talk to him. Then some bastard threw a rock at him and his Kekkai Genkai activated, giving him incredible reflexes and strength. The downside? No control. It took over 5 years, and the constant training of 2 elite ninja, a taijutsu master and a ninjutsu master, before he got to the point where he could safely give someone a hug without accidentally breaking their ribs or spine. And then his lineage was revealed. His father had been a great warrior, renowned across the lands, and his mother a kunoichi almost as famous. But the civilians on Konoha's council refused to believe that one they saw as a monster could be the son of their greatest heroes. So they passed a law stripping his lineage away from him and removing the money that he should have inherited. And he couldn't stop them because someone had tried to steal his father's techniques, and the resulting fire had destroyed the documents proving who he was. You think you have it bad? Trust me, kid, you still have family who care for you. You still have a home and you aren't hated by everyone. You have it easy. Think about it, Naruto and I went through hell and we still carry on. You've had it harsh. But compared to us. Inari froze and Anko strode to the door. You need to get a grip, kid. Don't try to forget the bad things, but concentrate on what you still have. And think about what you'll do to protect them. Inari didn't move as Anko closed the door behind her. Anko stared at the trio in the dawnlight. Good news, maggots. Today, you only do tree climbing if you feel like it. I have something else planned. A lesson in stamina, evasion skills, and the need to learn to move fast. And it's called, holy shit, don't get eaten by the giant summons. Kuchios no Jutsu. A large cloud of smoke formed and dissipated to reveal a giant snake. Anko lazily pointed. Get them. The snake lunged forwards and all 3 genin sprinted off, Sakura screaming in fear while Sasuke left some liquid behind. Anko smirked and moved to the porch, leaning against one of the support pillars. How likely are they to get eaten? Tsunami asked from behind her and Anko snorted. They won't. I asked my summons to chase them, scare them, maybe bash them a little, but he won't actually eat them. Just make them think he will. I promised Kakashi I wouldn't kill them. Tsunami paused as a silent yet incredibly scared Sasuke dashed past, the summoned snake striking at the ground just behind him. Do you do this sort of training to Naruto? Anko chuckled. Naruto would uppercut any summons I called straight back to their world, or use that giant blade of his. Gaki's a total powerhouse, he just needs to learn to control it. Nah, speed, stamina, and strength ain't a problem with Gaki, It's control that's the issue, and he's got quite good at it. His reflexes are so boosted that I can't even hit him with my shadow snakes from 4 paces away, and he's pretty much surpassed me in traps and general trickery. All he needs is experience and hints on teamwork, and since he often does things with teams 8, 9, and 10, he's learning that as well. Which team are they? Tsunami asked as a white-faced Sakura sprinted past, intent on escaping her pursuer. Team 7. Enko shrugged. The Uchiha is incredibly arrogant. The girl is an Uchiha fangirl who needs to seriously wise up, and the pale boy, I don't know, but there's something off about him. The girl is terrified of Naruto. Her mom was one of the ones who voted for him to be stripped of his heritage. I don't know if he'll ever really get on with them. Still, it led him to get those kitties of his. Heh, still wish I'd been there to see the old man realize what they really were. Come to think about it, he probably knew from the word go, him and that scrying crystal ball of his. A series of explosions sounded and Enko raised her eyebrows appreciatively. Sounds like someone took down my summons. Damn. I'll have to congratulate whoever it was. You don't seem upset by that. Tsunami noted, obviously puzzled. Enko smirked. Are you serious? One of them has the guts to fight back. There may be some hope for them yet. Okay, you brats. One of you just dispelled my summons, you get the next hour free. Then we start the game again. Scram. Water walking, Enko said as she stood atop the lake, glaring at the trio of genin clad only in bathing costumes. Take what you learned from tree climbing and apply it here. You'll need to use more chakra and constantly adjust it, otherwise you'll fall in. By the end of today, I want you walking on water for at least 10 minutes before falling in. Girl, your aim is 5 as your chakra reserves are so pathetic. On the plus side, you should get this faster than the other two. Begin. From the porch, Enko watched as her Kage Bunshin oversaw the trio. Inari stood beside her, his gaze flicking between the genin and her. How are you doing that? You're there. But here. Kage Bunshin, shadow clone. Enko explained. I created a copy of myself, and when the copy dispels, I get all the new memories from it, meaning that whatever it learned, I learn. I can create about 4 or 5 before getting tired. Kakashi can do maybe 20 and Naruto can do almost 1,000, but he's got incredible chakra reserves. Inari's eyes widened, then he looked up at Enko. Can I learn to use this chakra? I hate being weak. Enko frowned. It's better that you ask Kakashi when he returns. He knows how to teach the basics, my methods are harsher than his. Inari flinched as the Enko clone threw a kunai at Sasuke, who barely managed to dodge it. Kakashi, yeah, okay. Enko smirked. Yipe! Kiba's yelp echoed off the trees as he jerked backwards, his frantic reaction allowing him to evade the Juken strike by a mere fraction of an inch. Backpedaling rapidly, he dived sideways as another strike scythed through where he had been. Enough! Both combatants halted, Hinata merely breathing heavily, while Kiba hyperventilated as the adrenaline slowly ebbed from his system. That was quite incredible, Hinata, Kurenai said, walking over to them. You've really become a lot faster. Thank you, sensei, Hinata said quietly. I knew my taijutsu needed work, so I asked someone for help. I don't mean any insult, but you're a genjutsu specialist, so. Kurenai smiled. No insult is taken. I know my limitations as a genjutsu user. I am best in a team with frontline fighters, or in a recon group like this. Who did you ask for help? My cousin's sensei, Mato Guy. He gave me some weights to help build my speed and strength, and Mitarashi Enko taught me exercises to help me become tougher and more flexible. It's worked, Kiba panted, managing to lever himself into a sitting position. Sensei, I think I need weights. If they can do that for Hinata, then I need to get some of that. Kurenai nodded. Well, that's all for today. We've done the missions, training, and sparring. Meet back here at 10 tomorrow. Hinata, wait a moment please. Kiba nodded and gratefully accepted Shino's proffered hand. The taller genin pulled him to his feet and, pausing just long enough to scoop up the equally exhausted Akamaru, started to lead him back to his clan compound. As they left, Hinata turned to face Kurenai. Gomen, I didn't mean to suggest that you. Kurenai held up her hand to stop the apology. I am not angry with you, Hinata. Quite the opposite, in fact. You saw a weakness in yourself and took steps to correct it. And the results have been spectacular. When you started the spars, Both Shino and Kiba held back so as to not beat you too badly. Now they have to go all out just to last more than a minute. No, the thing that concerns me is that I saw quite a bit of anger near the end of that spar. Is your family doing something again? Hinata shook her head, a blush coloring her cheeks, and Kurenai raised her eyebrow. That blush. You're not angry at someone, you're angry for someone, yes? Hinata's blush deepened and Kurenai bit down on a laugh. Someone you want to be close to, Perhaps? Someone as fast as Rock Lee. Hinata's blush seemed to glow as she ducked her head down into the collar of her jacket, and Kurenai found herself hard-pushed not to burst out laughing. So how long have you had a crush on Mato Guy? Kurenai-sensei. Kurenai could no longer hold it in. Seeing the horrified expression on Hinata's face in response to her joke, she fell sideways, clutching at her ribs as tears of laughter trickled down her cheeks. For what seemed like half an hour, she gasped for breath. Each time she started to recover, the look on her student's face sent her into a fresh gale of laughter. Finally, she managed to pull herself together and looked up into a pair of pale, angry eyes. I'm teasing you, Hinata, but that was a wonderful reaction. Everyone knows you've got a crush on Naruto. Hinata's face suddenly flamed red again before vanishing into the jacket's raised collar. Kurenai almost burst into laughter again, but managed to hold it down to a wide grin. So why do you need to be stronger? Aren't you strong enough already? Hinata shook her head. Naruto-kun's scared of losing control of his Kekkai Genkai. You can see it, he's always trying to hold back as much as he can so no one around him gets hurt. That's why I need to get stronger, so that he doesn't have to hold back as much. So that he can relax a bit without worrying about hurting, me. Kurenai thought about it for a moment, then nodded slowly. I see. And what does your family think? My father doesn't mind. I recently found a document from before I was born. A marriage contract between me and Naruto, Kurenai stated. Hinata nodded. But when the council passed that law, saying Naruto wasn't who he was, the document became useless. And since Hanabi has already been confirmed as the new clan heiress. Kurenai frowned. I'm surprised that the elders didn't push to put the cage bird seal on you. Hinata giggled. Dad took them to see one of Naruto-kun's training sessions. They saw him flatten Nijianai-san in a full spar and fight Lee-san to a standstill in pure taijutsu. And with the tigers that Naruto-kun controls, the elders want to have me marry him to get an alliance between the Hyuga and the Kagetora clans. Kurenai's eyebrows had raised as Hinata spoke. But what about the Byakugan? Hinata sagged slightly. They have thought of that. When I do marry Naruto-kun, I'll receive the sleeping bird seal so that I don't pass my Byakugan to any children. But I don't mind. They'll inherit Naruto-kun's Kekkai Genkai. For a couple of seconds, silence seemed to reign. Then Hinata obviously realized what she had just said. Kurenai lunged forwards as Hinata turned a bright red and collapsed, a small trickle of blood coming from her nose. Kurenai looked down at the unconscious girl in her arms and chuckled. Kurenai-san is my daughter. She's fine, Hayashi-sama. Kurenai replied, looking up at the approaching figure. She just trained a bit too hard, that's all. Hayashi raised an eyebrow as he saw the trickle of blood on his daughter's face. Really? I would have said that she accidentally thought about being married to Naruto-san. After all, whenever her face is that color, with the nosebleed, that is generally what and whom she was thinking about. Kurenai scooped Hinata up into her arms, only to pause as Hayashi stepped forwards and gently took Hinata from her, cradling her so that her head was against his shoulder. Kurenai-san, may I talk with you? Kurenai lifted one eyebrow slightly. Of course, Hayashi-sama. Hayashi turned and started to stroll towards the Hyuga compound, Kurenai taking position by his side. Can you please cast a genjutsu to keep this conversation private? Kurenai nodded and her hands blurred through a short sequence of seals. Done. I've slightly blurred our faces so that we can't be lip-read, and our voices will seem distant and indecipherable to any who try to get close. Thank you, Hayashi said, inclining his head slightly. I am sure you have questions for me. Like who you really are? Kurenai asked semi-humorously. I've never seen you act so gentle to Hinata before. You have a valid point, one that I am not proud of, Hayashi said slowly. At the time, I thought it was for the best. She held the position of heir, and those on the Hyuga Council who were opposed to me tried to have her branded with the caged bird seal. I tried to make her stronger, but I realized too late that it was not working, so in order to protect her, I tried to push her away, so that the elders would not see her as a way to control me. I have already apologized to her and explained my reasons. Hinata was kind enough to forgive me. Kurenai glanced up and saw Hayashi's eyes shimmer slightly before he blinked several times. About her and Naruto, Kurenai prompted and Hayashi smiled slightly. Hinata has trained with Naruto several times. He sees her as a friend. I intend to talk to him, show him the marriage contract, and I feel sure that between the friendship he shares with Hinata and his desire to pay the council back for their actions, he will at least consider the possibility of matrimony. Kurenai looked at him again. And the fact that he is a genin without a team? Hayashi burst into laughter, almost causing Kurenai to lose control of the jinjutsu. Once he had calmed down, he looked at Kurenai with an expression she had never seen before. Mirth. Kurenai-san, he is a team by himself. No, he is an army. He can create over 1,000 Kagebunshin. He has over 100 great tigers backing him up, and he studies under your friend, Mitarashi Anko, as well as Madogai and Hitaki Kakashi. Even you have taught him a bit. Would you like to rethink your stance on that one? Kurenai blushed slightly. I can't believe how strong Hinata-chan has become. Kiba half-panted as he staggered down the street, relying on his teammate to stop him from measuring his length on the ground. I really need to get some of those weights. The increase in Hinata-san's combat capabilities has proven to be both unexpected and fortuitous. It is highly possible that her combative capabilities exceed those of both you and I at close ranges. Huh. Shino sighed. It is good she has got better. She may be better than both of us close in. Why didn't you just say that? Kiba half moaned. She was kicking my tail around the training field like I was her personal plushie. It was all I could do to not get knocked out. I also experienced a significant counterforce whenever I attempted to. Shino stopped talking as Kiba glared at him. Then he cleared his throat. She was able to outpower me at close range, and her chakra reservoirs have increased. She lasts longer against my Kekkai. She's got good. Kiba agreed. I really think I need weights. I'm so talking to Mom when I get home. I also have reached the conclusion that I am lacking in taijutsu. Shino said. The use of weights is a concept most agreeable to my current mental appreciation of the situation. Kiba frowned in concentration. So, your fighting is not as good as it could be, and using weights is a good idea, right? Shino nodded slightly. That is approximately what I said, yes. Dumb it down for me next time. Kiba groaned. You and Hinata are the brains of the group. Until Hinata hammered me like that, I thought I was the brute strength. Have to do some serious training if I want to claim that title back. Her combat capability has indeed increased exponentially, Shino said. I admit to curiosity as to the origin of the unprecedented and unexpected increase in her skills and tactical acumen. Kiba stared at him. She has become very strong. I wonder how. Shino translated and Kiba shrugged. Dunno. How about we follow her on our day off and see if we can find out? Shino nodded. Hinata-chan. It is good to see your youthful face this wonderful morning. We were just about to begin our warm-ups. Would you care to join us? Thank you, Gai-sensei. I would, if it not too much trouble. You are always welcome, Hinata-san. Thank you, Lee-senpai. Kiba's jaw dropped as he watched Hinata remove her jacket and join the spandex-clad duo in their morning ritual of press-ups, sit-ups, and other exercises. Beside him and peering over his shoulder, Shino's eyebrows had risen above his shades. Several minutes passed, and then Kiba sighed. Hey Shino, Hinata's really grown. How did she hide those? Shino turned to stare disbelievingly at Kiba, who was staring at Hinata, or more accurately at a certain portion of her anatomy as she did so. A brief glimpse of her lower abdomen as her t-shirt lifted slightly showed that she was well-toned enough that her musculature was visible. Wow, Kiba drooled. She's got a really honed body? Did you see those stomach muscles? Shiba's disbelieving stare intensified. We are here to see if we can adapt our teammates' training to aid in our own, not to salivate over her. But look at her legs, her arms, her boo, ow. Shino lowered his fist as Kiba rubbed at the new bruise on the top of his head. Will you please be quiet? You didn't have to hit so hard. Kiba pouted. Hey, they've finished. Lee, 10 laps around Konoha. Go. Yash Gai-sensei. As the young teenager blurred into the distance, Guy turned his attention to Hinata. Are you recovered enough for a spar, Hinata? Yes, Gai-sensei. No way, Kiba whispered as his teammate and Konoha's taijutsu master squared off and began to spar. Instead of relying on the juken, Hinata was using a flexible, sinuous style that Kiba vaguely recognized. Snake style, used primarily by Mitarashi Anko, Shino said quietly after a few minutes. Naruto's sensei uses it. It would seem that Hinata has been seeking out and incorporating multiple specialties into her supplemental training. Yeah, and she's learned some cool new stuff too, Kiba whispered back as Hinata almost managed to land a hit. Shino facepalmed. Good morning, my youthful friends. Both Shino and Kiba leapt at the unexpected greeting, inadvertently revealing themselves to the sparring duo before them as they spun round to confront the person who had spoken out behind them. Kiba opened his mouth, but what came out was not what he had intended. Eyebrows. Shino facepalmed again. Please excuse my intellectually challenged acquaintance. What he meant to say was good morning. My name is Aburame Shino, this is Inuzuka Kibo, you already know our teammate Hinata. May we know your name? The green-clad black-haired boy posed with his thumb raised. I am Rock Lee, the second green beast of Konoha. It is my dream to prove that one can be a great ninja primarily relying on taijutsu. My Otudo Kazutora Naruto healed my inability to use chakra, for which I am eternally grateful. Otudo? Kiba whispered. Come, my newfound friends. Let me introduce you to my most youthful sensei. Shino fought down the urge to facepalm yet again. He was uncertain that he would make it through the day without developing a distinct red mark on his forehead. But at least he now had a chance to improve. So, it's not just Gai-sensei who teaches you? Kiba asked, a shocked expression on his face as he staggered back to his home, supported by both Hinata and Shino. Anko-sensei has taught me quite a bit, Hinata admitted, and Kakashi-sensei has taught me a couple of jutsu. That is quite impressive, Shino said from Kiba's other side. Your improvement seemed inexplicable until now. I am intrigued as to how you got permission from your clan to learn non-Hyuga jutsus. Though. Hinata shrugged. If all goes well, I am to marry outside the Hyuga. As such, the elders don't care any more about forcing me to become a perfect Hyuga. I'm still working on increasing my chakra reserves. Kakashi-sensei says that if I continue to do so at the rate I'm doing, I'll be able to learn the Kage Bunshin before the year is out. Kiba whistled in shock while Shino raised his eyebrows. That is quite incredible. What inspired you to achieve such a feat? Hinata blushed. And Naruto? Shino nodded. I still don't believe you managed to do that, Kakashi said in a shell-shocked voice as they crested the ridge and came into sight of Tezuna's home. I mean, I knew your stealth skills were good, but managing to sneak into Gato's mansion and place a spy seal on him while he slept? That's just… even for you, that's… Naruto chuckled and reached down to scratch Kaze's fur. Hey, sensei, I am unpredictable, and that outer wall wouldn't have been an obstacle even if I couldn't do the tree-walking skill. And you managed to put a transportation seal into his safe, so we can summon all the things stored inside whenever we want. Kakashi continued. Kami, how do you come up with these things? Naruto shrugged. It'd be easier if I knew the Hiraishin, but that died with my dad. Kakashi looked at him, an odd expression on his masked face. Didn't it? For a moment, Kakashi remained silent. Then he looked round to check that they were still unobserved. There are 3 ninja in Konoha who were your father's elite guard. They know how to do a version of Hiraishin, but until you can reverse the council's decision. Naruto's face darkened. Then he sighed. At least it isn't a completely lost technique. Maybe I'll be able to get one of them to teach me someday. Until then, I'll try to complete the Rasengan. You never told me how you're getting on with that, Kakashi said, and Naruto shrugged. After almost blowing myself up a few times, I set my Kage Bunshin to work on it. I found 97 different ways of not doing it, 62 of which are very, very painful. Briefly, Kakashi blinked. I see. At least you're honing your Kage Bunshin skills. Yep, Naruto chirped. I have no idea where that myth that it needs you to split all of your chakra comes from. As long as you give each clone enough to remain stable for a while, it's easy. Kakashi nodded. I see. When we get back, I'm recommending that Sarutobi promote you to Chunin. Your skills are way too good for your current level. Naruto sighed. Won't do me much good, though. I still have too many enemies on the council for that to go through without one hell of a fight, and with Kyuubi inside me and my super strength control still slipping whenever my emotions get too powerful. No girl will want to marry me. One will, Kakashi said absently. Then he clapped his hand over his mouth. But the damage had been done. Really? Naruto asked, his entire posture reflecting his curiosity. Who? Do I know her? Kakashi shook his head in resignation. Hayashi would kill him for this. If he was lucky. Na-ni-I. Anko's head turned as the exclamation sounded, and she grinned before turning back to the trio of near-traumatized genin. Ah, looks like I can't play with you anymore. She mock-sighed. Kakashi's back, so you're going back to him. And all three of you are still alive. I must be losing my touch. Well, off you go. Get a quick wash and changed. The trio dashed inside before Anko could change her mind, and Anko grinned as familiar shapes began to come down the hill. Anko waved and the taller figure returned it. Welcome back. How did you do? We have a spy seal on Gato and a transport seal in his safe. Kakashi gloated. Your student is really something, you know that? How did you get on with mine? Anko smirked. First, thanks, I'm quite proud of him, even if it was just a case of honing his skills. Second, they're still alive, but I think I got them to at least accept the concept of teamwork. They managed to dispel a few of my summons, and it wasn't just the ink user. You know the little shit can create explosive tags? That got my attention. Pinky's good at planning when she's not in fangirl mode, while Sasuke actually has some combat potential. Still, explosive tags. Kakashi hummed as he dropped down from the back of the tiger he had been riding. Well, Sai was privately trained to at least genin level before transferring across, so I have no real idea of what he was taught. His ink thing is a Kekkai Genkai, if that helps. Anko turned and stared at the wide-eyed form of her student. Gaki? Gaki? Hey, what have you done to my student? She likes me that way? Kakashi, Anko growled, a kunai appearing in her hand. Just what have you done to my student? Kakashi stared at her, then glanced quickly at where Naruto was still sat motionless atop the now sniggering Kaze. I just told him that someone he hated by Tofak pleased and kill me. Anko blinked as she mentally reviewed the rushed ending of the sentence. Then her gaze sharpened. Who? Kakashi backed up, raising his hands. You like her. It's Hinata who likes him. Anko relaxed slightly. Hinata? Hyuga Hinata? Nisan's student? The one who I'm teaching as well? Oh sure, that's old news. Wait, you're telling me that all this time, he had no idea? What the hell were you and Guy teaching him while you were raising him? You should have at least given him the talk. Kakashi vanished in a shunshin and Anko snarled before vanishing after him, leaving Naruto and the dozen tigers behind. She really likes me like that? Anko reappeared, sighed and tugged at Naruto's arm, pulling him down. Catching him and standing him up, she guided him towards the house. Hinata likes me? Anko shook her head, then grinned widely. She was so gonna have fun teasing him and Hinata about this. So, Kakashi said brightly to the hastily cleaned trio in front of him. How have things been during the last 5 days? Have you been good little genin for Anko-chan? All three stared at him, unable to speak. Well, I'll take that as a good thing. Kakashi continued, apparently missing the non-reactions of his students. Now, what did she teach you? Sakura? Sakura almost flinched at being singled out, but she managed to pull herself together. We learned tree climbing and water walking. Oh, is that all? Kakashi said, sounding disappointed. She said she was going to work on your evasion skills as well as your chakra control and reserves. She summoned snakes and had them chase us, and she threw kunai at us. Sasuke burst out and Kakashi nodded. That would be the evasion skills. Good to know she hasn't lost her touch. Did she start with the advanced stuff? Poisons? Torture? Assassination? Sakura and Sasuke both looked horrified while Sai looked slightly disturbed. Kakashi sighed. Well, at least she covered the basics. Sensei? Sakura asked nervously. Why didn't we learn these things earlier? Good question. Kakashi replied in a congratulatory tone. I was hoping you would ask that. Simply, your teamwork was so bad that I had to take action to try and improve it. Get all three of you working together. Did you play her favorite game with the snake? The holy shit. Don't get eaten by the giant summons game, Sasuke asked in a haunted voice and Kakashi nodded. Yep, that's the one. Just about the only way to take out one of those when you're a genin is by teaming up against it. At least you managed to not get eaten, that's something. Anything else happen? Sasuke looked up and Kakashi almost froze as Sasuke's black eyes flashed red. I activated my Sharingan during that game, and Anko gave me quite a lecture. I told him that if he used it on an ally, teammate or anyone from Konoha without permission, I'd rip his eyes out and replace them with his balls, Anko said, appearing from nowhere and draping herself against Kakashi. Kakashi nodded. Well, the punishment's a bit much, but I agree. It's one reason why the Uchiha were disliked by the other clans. They kept trying to steal clan jutsus, and occasionally succeeding. No one likes it when they've trained for years to create a new jutsu, only to have someone blink at them and copy it. Sasuke blinked several times, then nodded slowly. So that is why the other clans didn't support the Uchiha. It wasn't jealousy of our eyes, it was that they were angry with us for abusing their power. Kakashi nodded, his jovial act in abeyance. Yes, Sasuke. Your clan were infamous for stealing other people's jutsu and boasting about it. If you rebuild your clan, you have a chance to build it so it isn't hated. Sasuke lowered his head, his eyes dark in thought, and Kakashi turned his attention to Sakura. So, he chirped, I hear that you can actually be something other than a mindless fangirl. Naruto leaned back against Kaze's flank in the middle of the clearing in the forest, his eyes wandering across the stars above. The Moon Eye girl would be good for you. We both know you like her and she likes you. Kaze rumbled and Naruto sighed. I know that she likes me and I really like her, but, damn it, Kaze, I daren't get that close to her. I'm too strong. I'll hurt her. I just know I will. Kaze turned his head to fix Naruto with a piercing gaze and Naruto slumped. I'm scared, Kaze, he whispered. I have too many enemies in Konoha. If I get close to her, they'll use her to get to me, and it'll really hurt her when they do. I wouldn't worry about it, Kaze replied. Besides, once you claim her as a mate, Blossoming Flower in the Morning Dawn has already asked to be the one to be the protector of Precious Flower with Eyes of the Moon. Naruto smiled at the name that the great tigers had bestowed on Hinata. So Kyuka wants to guard Hinata. The two of them already get on well, Kaze pointed out and Naruto nodded, then yawned. Sorry, but I think that. Sleep well, Cubling, Kaze quietly rumbled, knowing that his charge was already asleep. The long-haired figure entered the clearing and froze as a large fur-covered head rose, affixing it with a piercing stare. A moment later, another head rose, this one human and topped with blonde hair. Oh, good morning. The boy yawned, eyes still screwed shut against the dawnlight. The giant cat sighed and laid its head down, grumbling as it did so. What? Oh, Kaze says he's not going to hurt you, and what? He says you're really a boy. He can smell it. Well, Kaze, was it? Is right, I am a boy. My name is Haku. The blonde rubbed at his eyes and yawned again, leaving Haku intrigued as to how he could yawn like that without dislocating his jaw. Nice to meet you, Haku. I'm Kagetora Naruto and this heap of fur is Kaze. A growling rumble sounded and Naruto vaulted over Kaze, slapping him as he did so. Oh, stop complaining. When you sprawl out like that, it's what you look like, a great big pile of fur. Don't you agree, Haku? Haku noted the eye slitting open to look at him and the ear twitching slightly. I think he looks amazing, even lying down, Haku said quickly. I've never seen a cat as big as him. He's my friend, Naruto said, turning to glare at the sniggering feline. Even if he does insist on trying to pounce me whenever he gets bored. So, what are you doing out here this early? My friend is hurt and I'm getting some herbs to help him get better, Haku said, his eyes widening as Kaze heaved himself to his feet, looming over Naruto. Naruto followed his gaze. Oh, don't be scared. Outside battle, Kaze's just a giant kitten. Yes, you are and we both know it. So stop growling at me. Haku managed to not laugh as Kaze rolled his eyes before letting out a giant sigh and lowering his head. Naruto laughed and reached up to scratch Kaze between his ears. A rumbling pursoon started to echo around the glade. "So, you need herbs," Naruto said, inadvertently reminding Haku of his mission. "I can help. I'm a ninja. I can do anything." "Oi Kaze, who asked you?" "Ignore him." Haku giggled, then held out the basket he was carrying. "I'm looking for more of these." Naruto walked over and picked one up. Taking a few sniffs, he dropped it back into the basket and inhaled deeply, eyes closed. "Over there? Come on." Haku followed him as he headed towards a shaded portion of the glade, where a small area was thickly covered in the herbs. With a grateful smile, Haku started to pluck some from the ground. "That was amazing," Haku said. "What else can you do?" Naruto grinned. "I can do loads of jutsu, but I'm best in a close-in fight, 'cause I'm super strong. I've learned loads of stuff and can do really cool things like this." Haku stared at the blue swirling sphere in Naruto's hand, then up to Naruto's grin. "That is really amazing." "Yep," Naruto smirked. "It's called the Rasengan." "Are you sure he said Rasengan?" Haku nodded. It was a blue sphere of chakra. I'd never seen anything like it before. Zabuza slumped back into the embrace of his chair. "Great, we're up against copycat Kakashi, the snake mistress and the kid swordsman who has one of the jutsu of the Yondaime Hokage. And at least one giant tiger," Haku said quietly. It stood 7 feet tall at the shoulder. Zabuza closed his eyes and massaged his forehead. "Damn it, are you sure you got away safely?" "I did," Haku said. "I used my mirrors to cover some of the distance and to break my scent trail. Made it hard to find again," a familiar voice said from the doorway, and Haku spun round with a gasp. In the doorway, Naruto grinned at him, flanked by Kakashi and Anko. Haku's gaze darted round and panic rose in him as he saw at least one giant tiger guarding each of the windows, looking in with interested expressions. "I had a lot of help and I had to use my special transformation technique," Naruto admitted, rubbing the back of his head. "But I managed to find you. I don't want to fight you, so can we hire you instead?" Zabuza stared at him. "What? How would you like to become ninja of Konohagakure?" Kakashi asked with a smile visible under his mask. "What? Arayarf, it's Zabuza." Zabuza stuck his finger in his ear and wriggled it slightly, then turned to face Kakashi. "Got quite a set of lungs on her, hasn't she?" Kakashi nodded while behind them, Haku giggled slightly. "Sensei, it's Zabuza. And?" Kakashi's simple query caught Sakura completely by surprise, and she stared at him as if he'd gone mad. From the stairs, Sasuke stared at them wide-eyed, while Sai merely cocked his head in slight confusion. "We proved to Zabuza that Gato was planning to betray him and kill him rather than pay him. So Zabuza's accepted our offer of employment and will join Konoha once our mission is over." "Come on, Zabuza. I think Naruto wanted a rematch." "Sure thing. That kid has potential. Haku, get settled in and ask Anko what needs doing. I'll be playing." The 3 genin watched as Kakashi and Zabuza walked off. Then Sakura blinked as Sasuke walked past her. "Good morning, my name is Uchiha Sasuke, last of my clan. May I know the name of such a beautiful girl as yourself?" "My name is Haku and I'm a boy." Sasuke froze, as did Sakura. "You're a boy," Haku finished with a slight smile. For almost half a minute, everyone was motionless. Then Sasuke seemed to crumple bonelessly onto the floor. Sakura yelped and dashed over to check the collapsed boy was all right, while Tsuname and Inari, who had managed to recover from their shock, started to giggle. "Does he do that often?" Haku asked, and Anko shrugged. "No idea, brat. Anyway, you're in with the genin since you're about their age, while Zabuza's in with Kakashi and myself. Hey, now there's 3 jonin, we can do a proper watch rotation." Battle cries and the sound of metal striking metal echoed, and Anko glanced round. "Wow, I gotta see this. Pinky, once Emo's up, get Haku settled in. I've gotta see what Zabuza's teaching my Gaki, and if I can learn any of it. See ya." They watched Anko jog off, and then Haku turned back to face Sakura. "Do you want help carrying him to where we are sleeping?" "What do you mean Zabuza's vanished? How the hell am I going to kill him and claim his bounty if he's not around for me to turn on?" Gato's voice rose from the square of parchment on which a complex seal was written. The 3 jonin, For genin and unranked shinobi crowded round to listen. I don't care, we need to stop that damned bridge from being finished. Summon everyone, we move out at dawn tomorrow. Yes, even the nuke Nin. I want Zabuza's head on a platter. Zabuza growled while Haku cocked his head in confusion. Why are we only hearing Gato? It's the way the seal works, Naruto explained. It was in a Fuinjitsu book and is a spy seal meant for undercover operatives. It only transmits what they say since it relies on detecting and transmitting fluctuations in the user's chakra that correspond to speech. Haku's eyebrows rose during the explanation. Impressive. So, that'll be a dozen nuke Nin in addition to how many? 140? Should be plenty. Kakashi mused. Naruto, we may need your friends for this. Hell yeah. Zabuza enthused. Those cats of yours are each at least high genin, low chunin, boosts our numbers, and the other side will have no idea what the hell they are. Heck, first few times I sparred against them, I ended up getting licked. Literally. Haku managed to hide his chuckle as a cough, but Zabuza glared at him suspiciously. So, when Gato chooses to deploy his minions, we keep Tazuna here. With a few clones for security, Enko interjected. With a few clones and my genin for security, while we ride the great tigers into battle and send Gato's surviving minions running. Kakashi continued. And if Gato's not there, we track him down. Sounds like a plan. Has my vote. Zabuza grinned under his mask. But why leave your genin here? They could be useful. As a distraction, if nothing else. Kakashi sighed. Anko's just got them working together. I'd rather not traumatize them out of being able to perform teamwork after all that effort teaching them. Gato fumed as he strode towards the bridge. His primary disposable weapon, the nuke Nin Zabuza, had vanished, leaving him to recruit new ninja to take down the Konoha Nin that the damned bridge builder had somehow conned into protecting him. At least he'd been able to get another 8 nuke Nin overnight, bringing the total up to 20, although only 16 were with him. And with close to 200 thugs in his army, there was nothing that could stop him. He bumped into the ninja who was walking in front of him. The man had stopped. What's going on? Gato yelled, forcing his way through to the front ranks of the mob. Breaking through, he looked round and felt his breath catch in his throat. I didn't like it that you were planning on backstabbing me and my son. Zabuza drawled from his position atop the largest feline that Gato had ever seen. So when my new friends came to me with an offer of sanctuary and a new life, I said yeah. If you hadn't been such a traitorous team, I'd still be on your side. Gato stared at him. Then another giant cat showed up, this one with a silver-haired figure perched on its back. We just emptied your safe, the figure said as he dropped down onto the ground. All that info you were keeping secret, proof of your crimes and your criminal empire, all in our hands now. Even if you somehow survive this, you're going down. Kakashi-sensei. Yet another cat rider appeared, this one blonde. One of my clones just dispelled. Gato sent 4 Ronin and nuke Nin to seize Inari and Tsunami. Sai took one down. Sasuke took down the second. Sakura KO'd the third and my clones mobbed the last one. Sasuke wants to know if he can have one of the swords. Gato felt his blood freeze as his intended trump card was destroyed. Well, said yet another cat rider, causing Gato to start sweating. This looks like fun. How many ninja? 16. The silver-haired one said. None of them above high chunin. No problems. Dibs on Gato. Zabuza snarled. I want to chop his damned head off. I have a better idea, the blonde said. Let's catch him and give him to the villagers. Oh, Gaki, the female smirked. Keep coming up with ideas like that and I'll have to marry you. Gato gulped as the tigers crouched, ready to attack. Sasuke and Sai dragged the last of the 4 corpses to by the trees, where Sakura was emptying the pouches and removing the weapons of the other 3. A small pile of kunai and shuriken was close by, as well as several scrolls. Dibs on the Chikudo, Sasuke said, and Sakura nodded as she opened the scrolls to check them. The kunai are probably only good for scrap, Sai said, picking one up and looking at it curiously. The shuriken are very unbalanced. What are in the scrolls? This one's got a fire technique, Sakura said, rolling it up and tossing it to Sasuke. This one, oh, a medical scroll. This one, not a clue. Sai looked at it. That is a storage scroll. I will unseal it. Sai unrolled the scroll along the ground and channeled some chakra into it. A second later, there was an explosion of smoke and everyone stared at it. Sasuke started salivating. Salad, Sakura said slowly. Someone filled a storage scroll with salad. Sasuke lunged forwards and grabbed one of the tomatoes, biting into it with an expression of bliss. I guess Smiles has dibs on the tomatoes too, Sai commented. Sasuke glared at him before taking another bite. Gato had pissed his pants. His army had attacked, only for a furry avalanche to hammer into it from the side as the 5 ninja before him had attacked, the youngest somehow creating a dozen more like himself and scything through the thugs as if they were blades of grass. His Nuke-Nin had fared little better. The ones who had homed in on the 2 men had been killed almost instantly, bisected by Zabuza or killed by assassination strikes from the silver-haired man. Those who had gone after the woman were on the ground, dead or dying from snake bites delivered by snakes that the woman had somehow summoned from her sleeves. The few that had attacked the one dressed as a hunter-nin had been captured in blocks of ice. The 2 who had gone after the brat had been sent flying by a backhand swing of the huge sword the kid was swinging around like a lethal paper fan. Gato ran faster. Behind him, the sound of combat died down, and a terrifying roar sounded. Another answered it from the left, then a third from the right. They were hunting him. Gato tried to run faster. If he could only reach his headquarters, then. Both he and his thoughts screeched to a halt as a pair of giant tigers burst out of the undergrowth and spun to face him. One of them pounced and Gato found himself pinned to the ground by a pair of giant paws on his shoulders, while his attention was transfixed by a mouth full of fangs the size of kunai. The 2 tigers growled to each other. Then the one pinning him moved off him just as the second one grabbed his right arm in its jaws. The first one grabbed his left arm and Gato fainted as the 2 tigers hoisted him into the air. Where's Naruto? Tazuna's urgent query cut through the air as the 3 Jonin and single Chunin dismounted from their feline steeds. Ah! Gaki went to get you a gift, Enko joked. He and Kaze'll be back soon. Kaze's back, Inari shouted. And, there's 2 of him? Enko looked round in confusion. Sure enough, Kaze had returned and was walking down the high street, Gato's arm in his mouth. Gato's other arm, however, was indeed being held by a second Kaze. What? The 2 Kazes stopped in the middle of the town square and, almost as one, dropped the whimpering Gato onto the floor before backing up slightly. Exchanging satisfied looks, one of the Kazes settled down into his normal sprawl while the second was suddenly engulfed in a cloud of smoke which dispersed to reveal Naruto making faces and spitting. Blurg! Gato tastes terrible, he spluttered, causing a wave of laughter. No, I mean it. He tastes foul. Dank. Slimy the blurg. Thanks. Naruto took a swig from the water canteen Sakura had handed him, swished the water round his mouth and spat it out onto a nearby flower bed. Repeating a couple more times, he handed the canteen back with a nod of thanks. So, that was the great Tiger Henge no Jutsu you've mentioned before, yes? Kakashi asked. I'm impressed. It's like a reversal of the Inuzuka tactics. Can't wait to show Kiba. Naruto smirked. Anyway, I thought that I'd bring the village a little something, so here it is. Gato whimpered as he frantically looked for an escape route, but the villagers had formed a complete circle around him, many of them growling or snarling as they advanced on the author of their misfortunes. Naruto, Gakis, let's go, Enko commanded. We can visit Gato's base and grab the rest of his things while the villagers celebrate, then return when they're done. The villagers didn't notice the ninja departing. Do you really have to go? Inari asked, his eyes brimming with tears despite his best efforts. I'm afraid so, yes, Enko said, looking down at the boy who was hugging her. Don't worry, brat. We'll visit you again someday. Am not a brat, Inari protested and Enko ruffled his hair. You need to grow a bit before I stop calling you that. Enko grinned. But I really need to leave. Thanks for your help, Tazuna said, pumping Kakashi's hand. And thanks for that gift. It'll really help us in rebuilding. Well, Gato had stolen quite a lot, Kakashi said with his standard eye smile. Even after taking what you would have owed us had you told the truth about the mission, there was still quite a bit left. Use it wisely now that the bridge is finished. Now, we really need to return to Konoha. Our new Jonin needs to report in and find a place to stay. We have a few spare rooms at home, if you don't mind having the tigers around, Naruto said to Zabuza, who laughed. Mind? Kid. I love these tigers. Excellent backup, fantastic steeds, and always up for a good tussle. And you really need kenjutsu training, as does the emo with his new sword. I'll accept the rooms with thanks. Hey, come on, Anko shouted, having managed to extract herself from Inari's hug and mounted one of the tigers. Daylight's burning. See you all, Naruto shouted, waving as Kaze started to walk back towards Konoha. Stay safe. The villagers watched their saviors vanish into the trees. Then Tsunami looked at the bridge behind them. So, what are you going to call it? The super awesome bridge that Tazuna built, Tazuna declaimed. Then he looked round at the suddenly silent crowd. The Mitarashi Anko Bridge? Inari suggested. How about the Great Tiger Bridge? Tsuname said thoughtfully. After all, it was the tigers who brought that bastard Gato to us for justice, and they fought alongside the ninjas as well. A rumble of approval went through the crowd.